over the past several days.
Trapp-Hagan says we could see a storm later this week, meaning we should steer clear of really bad air for at least the next 7 days. U of U researchers, meantime, want to protect kids from the poor air quality by installing air quality sensors on every high school athletic field in the state. Associate Professor of Chemical Engineering Carrie Kelly says they've already begun to install the devices.
We have placed approximately 40 air quality sensors throughout the state of Utah, and many of those are in areas that either don't have any or have very limited air quality information.
Kelly says many counties in the state don't have a way to measure or forecast the air quality in their own area. Our top national stories this hour from ABC News. Syria's prime minister says most cabinet ministers are still working, even after rebels entered the capital over the weekend and overthrew President Bashar Assad. Streams of refugees are crossing back into Syria from neighboring countries, hoping for a more peaceful future. Your money at this moment, the market's down. The market's now all in the red. The Dow is off 97. The S&P is down 29, and the NASDAQ down about 0.6% with a loss of 125 points. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at this forecast. Slight chance of showers today. What does the rest of the week look like? We'll find out. KSL News Time, 9:03.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Donate your car to Charity Hotline. This is Roger.
Hi, Roger, I'd like to donate my car.
Yeah, good. Leave the keys in it, park it on the street, and we'll send a thug. Tow.
Where's your office?
In New Jersey. Where do you want it to be?
Well, Roger, I want to make sure my donation helps Utah kidney patients.
It will.
Which ones?
Well, does it matter?
Yes, I want the money to stay in Utah.
And boy, have you got the wrong number.
If you want your car donation to help people here in Utah, turn your car into a kidney car for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. Hi, this is Luz Lewis Perez. Kidney Cars is the Beehive State's #1 choice for charity car donation since 1990. When you donate your car to Kidney Cars, funding stays in Utah to help local Utah kidney patients and funds local medical research. Kidney Cars gets donors the highest tax deduction, along with free towing. Visit towcars.org and learn more. That's tow cars with a K like kidney. That's TOWKARS.org.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with DinoPay app. Back to the traffic center in Heather.
Well, looks like our delays are centered in Utah County right now. The worst of them are southbound I-15 between Main Street and Lehigh down into Pleasant Grove. That's from an earlier crash that's now cleared. It'll just take time for those delays to clear out. And if you're northbound I-15, you still have slowdowns between SR 92, that's Timpanogos Highway, all the way over the point of the mountain toward Bangerter Highway, and that was due to 4 different crashes that happened in about a 2 or 3 mile stretch of the roadway. Everybody else is moving along nicely. When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing exceptional service from 4 dealers. Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Truck Country. See performancebountiful.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cold air clearing out that inversion. We could see a few spotty showers across the Wasatch Front today. Highs are going to be in the upper 30s. 38, the actual forecast high, and right now it's 28 degrees in Salt Lake City. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes, reminding you to listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, welcome to another Monday. I'm joined this morning by a friend and former coworker at KSL 5 Television. We worked together back in the early 2000s.
Very early knots.
Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega. Marty, you're a partner at Northbound Strategy.
Correct.
In Salt Lake City, which is, you've moved on from the edit bays at KSL TV.
Just down the hall in Edit Bay 4, where I would be from 2 a.m. until 9 a.m.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That was much worse than showing up here to do radio for a little bit.
It's so fun to see you. Now you do strategic communications and consulting.
Yeah.
And you're also going to be filling in this week
I think
on
I'm
Inside
here on
Sources.
Wednesday. If I'm not mistaken, I have to look at my calendar. I think I'm here on Wednesday.
Yeah, we've got you working all the shifts here as we lead up to the Christmas holiday.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Our top story this morning is a question that I think a lot of parents ask about their own kids' high school, but we're going to focus on West High School, which is just right across the street here from Broadcast House near downtown Salt Lake City. How safe is it? Teachers and some students applying pressure to the school district late last week, and we're going to carry on the conversation this morning to do more when it comes to safety. And this comes in light of a shooting on campus last month that apparently caught the attention at the time of no one.
Or at least just of the teachers eventually. But at the time, yeah, it's pretty remarkable to think that there was something that could happen even in the vicinity of a school, even if it was 3 blocks away, and not have the school have some kind of notification on that. I don't live in Salt Lake County. I live in Davis County, but that seems really quite different to me than what would happen up in my area of the state.
What are you used to?
Well, it seems like if there's anything that happens anywhere within like a 3 to 5 mile radius of the school, they'll send an email and say, hey, this happened. There's a suspect who may be at large. School's on lockdown. We've got things hunkered down at the school, but just so you're aware. Very good communication, I think, from Davis School District. So what I'm reading here says, wow, that's a really different experience than what I'm accustomed to with my kids' schools.
So let's walk back to last month. It was November 7th when this shooting happened in West High School's parking lot. It ended with a teen being shot, went to the hospital, apparently driven there by a family member, but it was not reported by anybody at the school. It was actually reported to the police by the hospital, where the 15-year-old victim showed up 2 hours after the shooting. So I want to go back to November with the help of KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera, who reported on this shooting in the parking lot last month.
Back in November, Salt Lake City police responded to a group of teenagers gathered in West High's parking lot fighting. Then someone shot a gun and struck a 15-year-old boy who went to the hospital, where they determined it was a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Detectives believe the shooting was an isolated incident and might be gang-related. They also say no one called 911 when the shooting happened. West High administrators didn't know about what happened until hours later and said that's why they didn't place the school on secure alert, according to a statement.
All right, so you can kind of understand that, I suppose. If there's a gunshot, that's a very quick thing, and if a kid's taken to the hospital without an ambulance showing up, without the police coming, I guess I can understand how you could say, how long does it take for a gunshot sound to happen and then disappear and people to go, wait, what was that? If they heard it at all, right? So if that's not being reported at any point there, I would understand that in the moment the school district doesn't hear it or the school doesn't have it reported. But it sounds like there was a trail of communication that got back to them eventually.
I'm just shocked that a child could be shot in a school parking lot in today's day and age. We have been dealing with school security and how to ramp up school security since Columbine in Colorado happened in 1999. And yet here we are today talking about a school shooting, a gunshot that went off, and no adult in the area seemed to, or nobody heard or knew about it to report it. So this is where I want to move forward to this last Friday. We got teachers at West High School now protesting, talking to the media, urging the district to implement a safety plan to better protect the students. And according to the Deseret News, and they did a very thorough write-up of this latest protest by teachers. I call it a protest, but it was probably more of just a gathering outside the school late Friday afternoon. The teachers have met and voiced their concerns with the district. Now let's turn once again to our very own Eric Cabrera here at KSL News Radio, who spoke to those teachers on Friday.
Social studies teacher Holly Reynolds met me across the street from West High to share why the shooting last month that happened in their parking lot was the reason why they're applying pressure to the school and district to respond.
Really just highlighted that we have a lot of safety and security concerns that we have been concerned about for a long time at West. And we realized that we have been getting lucky every day.
Reynolds said the conversation has been ongoing, and they hope a new plan will be ready for their next meeting.
We had a meeting last week, and then we've reached out this week to ask for an action plan moving forward.
Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
So the kinds of questions you would want to ask, right? What are the current security gaps that the teachers see or that the students see or the administration sees in the school? And what improvements have been made over the past 5 years, past 2 years, past year to address security concerns? And if there have been improvements made, why are there still gaps? Why were these not prioritized? Or are we talking about just tightening down the last few things? I can only speak basically, Debbie, from my experience, like I said,
sure,
in my kids' schools. Yeah. And I know, like, if I go to my kid's school to check him out of class, he's sick or something, I can get into like this 10 by 10 glass area that I can't go into the school, and I can see the office, and I can show them my ID, and then
so
they'll
like
talk to me and let me know. Right. I'm basically like
a mom or
hey,
dad trap.
You can come in where we can see you, and you can drop stuff off for your kids, but you can't just walk into the school. And so I don't understand it, because I look at my kids' school and say, well, you know, it's not like it's bulletproof necessarily, but I can't just walk in. And if I can't just walk in, then a lot of people can't just walk in. So this seems odd to me that there could still be these types of security gaps. And maybe they're not talking about access into the school, but from what the article said, it looks like some of it is what's taking place inside the school.
Inside the school. So let's get into the specific complaints from teachers who say they need to see more security measures. And it's not just about that parking lot shooting last month that seemed to go undetected until the hospital, where this 15-year-old boy shows up with a gunshot wound in his leg. Calls 911 to let Salt Lake PD know, hey, there appears to have been a shooting at West High School. And they jump on it. They did make an arrest. But in the meantime, teachers are posing a list of concerns to the district that they see needs to be addressed when it comes to West High's security. Let's dive into that list next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, friends, did I ever tell you about the time that my husband and I and the kids were backing out of our garage door? This was in the garage back in the 90s, and our entire garage door collapsed after we'd backed out. It just fell to the ground. I wish back then we would have known about advanced garage doors. Well, now you know about advanced garage doors because Dave and I have been talking about them for a few weeks now. Advanced Garage Doors has certified technicians that are available 24/7 with same-day service, which would have been great for us because, of course, our garage door fell to the ground on a Saturday afternoon. It comes with a lifetime warranty on all residential doors and parts. You get the peace of mind that you want, knowing that your garage door is always protected as long as you follow their recommendations. Don't forget, they have this proprietary 23-point safety inspection to make sure your garage door is functioning properly. free zero-cost estimates to give you an itemized list of things to make sure your garage door is working just the way you need it to work. And as always, financing is available. So make sure you give them a call today. Get this item checked off your honey-do list, your to-do list. Advanced Garage Doors. Get them out there to check up on your garage door to make sure it's functioning properly. And if you need a new garage door, they're also your go-to. All you have to do is look them up online at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com, or you can give them a call. They'd love to hear from you. 801-252-5977. Again, 801-252-5977.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Life can feel hard or overwhelming sometimes, but you don't have to face things alone. Getting help for yourself or someone you're worried about starts with a call or text to 988, where you always have someone to talk to, someone to help you, and somewhere safe to go. 988 Utah is here for anyone experiencing mental health challenges or emotional distress. 988 Utah can even help you navigate how to support your struggling loved ones. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or suicidal thoughts, trained professionals are ready to listen and provide free, confidential support 24/7. Utah, don't hesitate to call or text 988 for you or someone you care about. The caring staff at 988 Utah can connect you to the right resources. Learn more at 988.utah.gov.
Les Olson IT structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olson IT.
It's a new chapter for energy in your community. Dominion Energy is now Enbridge Gas in Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho. With 175 years experience delivering reliable energy, we're pleased to welcome customers formerly served by Dominion Energy to our Enbridge family. While the name of your gas company has changed, we remain your first choice for affordable natural gas. For more information, visit enbridgegas.com. That's ENBRIDGE gas.com. Tomorrow is on.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, the Salt Lake City Police Department says there's been an increase in thefts and attempted thefts of Kia and Hyundai vehicles in the Rose Park area. Second, air quality is in much better shape today, but another inversion is on its way and expected to roll in sometime tomorrow. And third, tens of thousands of people held in Syria's notorious prisons have been freed in the 10 days since the insurgency began. Right now in Salt Lake City, as we shoot for a high of 38 degrees, it's 28 in Salt Lake City. Let's get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Well, since we're creeping so close to holiday break here for our schools, maybe the teachers at West High are hopeful that by the time they get back to class, they return to school in January, some of these safety and security concerns that they have at West High School will have been addressed. Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega. We're talking about security issues and concerns at West High. Not long after, about a month after a shooting, apparently it went undetected in the high school parking lot at about noonish on November 7th, has spun up some safety concerns at the high school amongst the staff there, Marty.
Yeah, I guess if I want to say, let's be fair to the district, because there are a couple things from this story. The teacher says that the officials from the district have met with employees to discuss issues. So they're having conversations, and they're willing to work with us, is what it says, the teachers say from the story. For their part, the district says, we agree with our teachers. All students and staff should be safe at school. We'll continue our ongoing efforts to keep all our schools safe. We know that the West High School administration is also doing its part, working to develop consistent and clear protocols and processes to increase safety. Now, I've written a statement or two in my life. That's a nothing burger. That's just 4 sentences streamed together that basically say nothing, that by the time you get done with it, you hope you'll notice that they didn't say, specifics. Here's what we're going to do. There's no specifics in it. We're going to look at it. We're looking at it today. Here are the things. So, one phrase that jumps out there to me is they're looking to develop protocols, consistent protocols. Develop consistent and clear protocols is what they say. I would say develop protocols. Other school districts in our state seem to have this covered, so why are you still developing protocols for this specific building? This is not a new facility. This is not a new problem. What are the gaps? And that's what I'd want to know specifically from the teachers as well. What are the gaps that you're seeing? What seems to be the problem specifically?
We've covered this story here over the last couple of weeks since the shooting, and then last week there was a couple of different gatherings by teachers and some students outside of West High expressing concerns over security issues. And we're going to go over the list of specifics. We'll get specific here on the show. Based on what the Deseret News has been reporting about the list of specific concerns that teachers have been raising. But here's what some of the teachers have been saying about what they're worried about.
We realize that we have been getting lucky every day.
We're really hoping, first of all, to get more people in here to help us patrol the campus and make sure our students are safe.
So they feel like they're getting lucky.
We realize that we have been getting lucky every day.
Lucky in terms of security issues not spinning up to the level that shooting did in that parking lot over there at West High. This teacher, Valerie Gates, telling our Eric Cabrera that she's got some concerns as well.
We're really hoping, first of all, to get more people in here to help us patrol the campus and make sure our students are safe.
And acknowledging. Teacher Danelle Hathaway acknowledges, that they've been speaking to the district.
We talked about our concerns. We posed some possible solutions. We basically asked them for help and engagement. And the feedback that we got from them felt more like they put it back upon us. We weren't sure if we felt like they didn't really hear us.
And to the point you made earlier, and that I've made more than once this morning, is that I'm surprised we're talking about this right now, given the landscape of school security issues that as a nation and as a state, we have tried and been addressing for the better part of like a few decades now, ever since Columbine happened, and probably more so even after Columbine, where threats were getting called into schools more and more, where we actually checked the back doors to schools to make sure a rock or a brick wasn't propping them open, where we were putting in what we call these man traps. So you enter through 2 doors, but you can't go into the next doors until you basically like plaster your face against the window and maybe, show an ID and prove that you're actually the father or the mother of a child. But here we are, Marty, with this relatively, I think, pretty long list of concerns that teachers are spotlighting.
So one thing I would want in this situation is for the teachers and the administration, those in the school, to give me not necessarily a proposal about what you think we need. In this case, they said more people. Give me specifics about where you think the vulnerabilities are, or specificity on some of the issues. Hey, someone can be in our parking lot and no one has eyes on this corner of the parking lot. Or it's easy to get into the school through this door. or someone can piggyback through security on it with a student here who looks like a student. Those are my concerns, right? Now we need to address these specific concerns. That's what I'd love to see from those in the school. And then from the administration, I'd like to say, okay, those are specific things that we definitely need to go address. Now let's figure out the best thing. Maybe that's people. Maybe it's more tools so that the limited number of people you have can do things by having better cameras in the parking lot or better security measures, these man door trap things that you mentioned. All of that seems like what we need is specificity on the problem, the specific problem areas, and then specificity on how you're going to address that and finding the best way to do it from the district.
So the first specific I'd want to know is how kids in the back parking lot could get into a fight and a shot could ring out and no one seems to notice. That would be the first thing I would want to address is do they need more staff that are able to spread out through campus and or police officers or security guards. But here's something else that the teachers have pointed out is they've got unauthorized people in hallways during class time.
Yeah, and who knows if that's just students who are out of class or if it's someone, I mean, it's kind of a vague way of describing it, right? Just someone who's not supposed to be in the hallway during class time.
But we've all had this, even if you're at work, right? You walk by somebody you don't recognize, and it gets a little bit exhausting and sometimes problematic to be the one be like, hey, yo, stop. Whoa, hold on. Who are you? Show me your ID. Let's walk you to the office. But this is one of their concerns, unauthorized people in hallways during class time.
I had to go through 4 security checkpoints to get to this radio studio today from the time I pulled my car into the parking lot. I mean, this is a fairly secure building, right? There's people watching where we go throughout the day. We want the schools to have similar checkpoints like that to make sure you're only letting the people in who need to be in.
So this to me is Security 101, and I don't know why this is happening. We'd love to talk more in depth with the district to see what their take is on this. Multiple unsecure entry points. So again, I go back to how often have we talked about this? No more rocks propping up doors. No more bricks from around the corner, keeping that door open so students can come and go anytime they want to, or faculty can find an easy entry point in. Why? Well, because then anybody can access that. And then you are putting teachers in a situation or students where they're trying to identify the stranger in the hallway because they entered through a propped open door. But the teachers here are alleging that they've got multiple unsecure entry points.
Yeah.
It would be impossible to keep up with multiple unsecure entry points if you don't have appropriate security guards posted at each one of those doors.
So the question would be, why is it that in the year 2024, heading into 2025, do we still have multiple unsecure points, especially when state leaders have actually addressed this problem by saying, hey, we're putting money toward this. And it's not an unfunded mandate of saying, hey, make your schools better and there's no money for it. They're putting money behind it, including, Governor Cox just put out his budget proposal for the upcoming fiscal year that has $130 million in it to improve school safeties or school safety measures. So, and this is not the first time we've had as a state put money toward this. It's something that's been a consistent, steady drumbeat of increased funding over the past several years, and not just funding for these types of approaches, like just putting money toward the problem, but letting the districts go figure out. Look, the state legislature can't go in and tell you, hey, the best way to secure West High is X. But they can say, you should be thinking about it, school district and school yourself. You should be thinking about it, and here's some money to go help make sure you get the proper security measures you need in place.
Yeah. We'll see where this goes. We're going to continue to follow it. In fact, our staff is reaching out to Utah lawmakers to see if they can join the show later on. We can talk to them about safety measures that they
Representative
expect.
Ryan Wilcox has been a big champion of this.
And
the governor's got it in his
show.
budget. Leadership up there in both the House and the Senate have made this a priority. Somewhere it's just not getting to the end of the row.
We'll continue the discussion, as we always do, right here on the show and here at KSL News Radio. Straight ahead, the Wall Street Journal just wrote an article, and it's entitled, Biden is ceding presidential influence to Trump. I look forward to going in depth with you on that, Marty, next.
Good morning. KSL News Time now, 9:30. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this hour. BYU now knows what bowl game they're going to be playing in. They'll be taking on another one of the Big 12's best teams, the Colorado Buffaloes, in the Alamo Bowl. BYU head coach Kalani Sitake says he's looking forward to this game.
I'm really excited about the matchup that we have against Colorado and Coach Prime. I've known Dion and been able to interact with him, and I'm a big fan of his.
Colorado head coach Deion Sanders also said his players, many of them headed for the NFL, will not opt out and will play in this game. It'll be on Saturday, December 28th in San Antonio. The Utah Jazz went into last night's game coming off a big win and quickly got brought back down to earth by the Sacramento Kings, who beat them by 44 points. The Jazz have now lost 8 of their last 10. They'll get some time off before their next game at home against Phoenix, that one coming up on Friday. Our top national stories this hour from ABC News. The Syrian rebel leader is promising a turning point for the region after toppling the government following 14 years of civil war. ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy says the rebel coalition poses concerns over where the country goes from here.
The big concern is just what emerges out of this opposition force. It is a loose coalition. The main goal is over, to remove Assad. There is a potential that it could turn on one another and create another civil war. We should all hope that doesn't happen, but these groups were aligned in the sense that they wanted to remove Assad. They might not be aligned going forward, and that is what everybody's concerned about.
President Assad fled the country over the weekend and has been granted asylum by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Your money at this moment, the market's still down, but have regained some of the earlier losses. The Dow is off 53, the S&P down about 0.3% with a loss of 23, and the NASDAQ now down 89 points. Coming up, these clouds are starting to clear a little bit, at least for now. We have some sunshine downtown, but we'll take a look at the full forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:33.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
You know what's so exciting about Master Electrical Service joining forces with Mountain Home Services is that you can get those chores checked off your checklist in no time, because now they do all kinds of things, all kinds of repairs to your home, like electrical repairs. Or maybe you need a new EV charger and you've been putting that off, but you don't want to put it off anymore. They can do that too. Plus, now that they've combined with Mountain Home Services, they can help you with your HVAC, the heating and air, your plumbing, all those things that you need to get checked off your list as you start into 2025. I get it. I know. I'm a homeowner too, and the list just piles up. Well, now it's one-stop shopping for you with Mountain Home Services. And they still give you that great upfront pricing guarantee, which means there's no hidden fees. The price that they quote you at the beginning of the job before they start the project is the price that you pay at the end. And don't forget, it comes with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. We know Master Electrical Service. They've been the name you've trusted since 1954. And now that they've joined with Mountain Home Services, again, you can get so much more done just by giving them the phone call. 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222. Or you can check them out online at mountainhomeutah.com.
With the holidays right around the corner, it's time to get ready for friends and family by calling the cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting at just $119 and a 4th room free with a food donation to the Utah Food Bank. Give the tech a bag of non-perishable food and get the 4th room clean free. Call Zero Res at 801-288-9376 or go to zerores.com and ask for the KSL special. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean. Zero Res.
You might not consider yourself a tech expert, but that doesn't mean you can't protect yourself from online scammers with a little help from McAfee Total Protection. Whether it's a fake missed delivery text or an urgent bank alert, these scams can look incredibly convincing. That's where McAfee Total Protection steps in. So go ahead, manage your finances and shop online. McAfee will help keep your device's privacy and identity safer. Visit McAfee.com/online protection today to get award-winning online protection for just $39.99 your first year. That's McAfee.com/online protection. Cancel anytime. Terms apply.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Old Spice Swagger Holiday Pack. Perfect for a gift to treat yourself. 24/7 holiday freshness. With daily use can smell your bestest. I'm gonna be smelling great all season. Old Spice scents just can't be beaten. Chock full of value, saving that green. Got the essentials needed to feel clean. Deodorant, hair, body wash, and spray. Celebrate your holiday the Old Spice way. Ho, 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 ho.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. Heather, things clearing out a little out there?
Finally, they are, but Utah County, southbound I-15, you're still slightly under the speed limit as you make your way from American Fork almost into the Orem area. This was due to two separate crashes. One of them right near Pioneer Crossing in American Fork. That one is still over on the right shoulder. The other one, the bigger one that had been blocking 3 lanes of traffic near Pleasant Grove, that just cleared a few minutes ago, so it's going to take a little bit of extra time to clear out all the slowdowns, but now that most everybody's gone, that should help. You do have some slowing in the Salt Lake Valley as well, southbound 15 leaving South Salt Lake heading into Murray. Looking for the best gift ever? That's what you get at Minky Couture, the original luxury blanket company. Use code KSL50 online and in stores to receive 50% off your purchase. Visit minkycouture.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Speaking of things clearing out, the cold air helped clear out the inversion, and we could see still a few spotty showers across the Wasatch Front today. Highs expected to get up about 38 degrees. The sunshine finally getting through those clouds this morning, helping to warm things up just a little bit. It's 32 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
With Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega. Marty does a lot of work in strategic communications and consulting. He's a partner at Northbound Strategy in Salt Lake City. I was really looking forward, Marty, to talking to you about Trump. President-elect Trump acting more like he's already president.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
So the Wall Street Journal picks up on this and writes a piece. It's entitled, "Biden is ceding presidential influence to Trump, and some Democrats are furious." We're going to get into the Democrats and what they're saying about this and ask ourselves, like, where is Biden? Where has he been? How about Harris? Where is she? In just a few minutes. But I want to start with President-elect Donald Trump. He has really been making the rounds, and he is acting, in my view, like he's already president.
Well, I think one reason that you would think that might make sense is you have to remember this is a unique situation because he's been president of the United States before. It's not like he's going to walk into the Oval Office and be like, hey, where do we keep the paper clips, right? He's been there. He knows how this works. And so I think on one end, it makes more sense that someone who knows the job is already saying, I'm ready to hit the ground running. And the second thing I would say is, are Democrats just now noticing that we haven't really had a president for the last year and a half?
Ooh.
Because of course he's absent. He's been absent. You spent a year of that time that he's been absent telling us that he's sharp as a tack, until the very moment when it became obvious for the entire country that he's not sharp as a tack. So we haven't really had someone manning the ship, and now we've got someone who's going to officially do it in 60 days, who's, in about 60 days, 6 weeks, somewhere in there, who has done it before. Of course, he's taking all of the steps that he can, I think, appropriately to go start advancing his own agenda. I would argue that I don't think he's ever stepped the bounds. I don't know.
You don't think he has?
No, I don't see an incident where he's actually negotiating something and saying, I'm the president now and this is what we're doing now. But he's saying, I'm going to be the president here in 6 weeks and let's start having some of these discussions. But that doesn't change any of the policy now. If Biden decides to step back and the incoming president is ready to move forward, he can't actually go take official action. But that doesn't mean he can't start making moves.
Lay some of the groundwork. I saw that he was in Paris over the weekend for the dedication or the rededication of the Notre Dame, the cathedral that burned in 2019.
The First Lady was there as well, the current First Lady.
Currently, he's also met this weekend in Paris with the French President Emmanuel Macron and Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky, and he's already talking about telling both Russia and Ukraine to figure out a way out of the war. So, and then additionally, on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, NBC News' Meet the Press, talking about his plan, at least some of the details, not anything too in-depth, for mass deportations.
Is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it, and it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. Yes, we're going to do something about the
What does that mean? What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan.
So again, he's not actually taking any action right now, and specifically on the immigration one. They're asking him, what are you going to do when you're in power? So he's not commander-in-chief right now. He can't move military personnel one way or the other, but he can talk about what he's going to do. And I don't think it's inappropriate to have some of these discussions with world leaders, especially when he was already in France for the rededication or the reopening of Notre Dame.
And then the tariffs were announced. He announced that he was going to implement tariffs on Canada, or more tariffs on Canada, more on Mexico and on China. And then Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau makes a trip to Mar-a-Lago.
Prime Minister, was it a productive meeting with President-elect?
It was a nice conversation.
It is though, like Canada is leapfrogging Biden. Maybe that's easy to do, and going right to Florida to meet with President-elect Donald Trump to figure out what the tariff plan is going to be.
If anything, he's giving them more heads up about what's coming and saying, look, I'm not doing this right now. It's not like he's enacting it inappropriately because he's not the president of the United States, but he is the president-elect. We know he's going to be in a position to make these decisions. It's not like this is the first time he's told anybody about it. He was saying this during the campaign. The American public voted on it in support of it. So, of course, what it shows me is you've got world leaders who are saying, hey, the U.S. actually has someone with a heartbeat who's going to get some stuff done. I can't wait until January 20th to go start talking to him. I've got to go do it now.
But I think in some regards, this is a bit unusual. Usually we have one president at a time. We don't have two. Just because we've elected one, we don't have two. And I think if a Democrat were doing this to a Republican currently seated president, you'd hear all kinds of flap from the Republican Party pushing back on that. I'm just not hearing Democrats pounding their fists over this.
And those you do aren't in the administration, right? So it doesn't seem like, President Biden essentially, since he has become a lame duck president, and that's not going back to when he was not the nominee, just meaning since Election Day, what's he done that's notable? If you're just sort of half paying attention, I think he went down to Brazil and sort of walked off into the Amazon after a press event. I think people would say they remember that. He pardoned his son. And then he didn't go to France, but he did go to Africa and then didn't hold a press event. So, and other than that, the only thing I can say where I've even seen him is he had the meeting in the White House with the president-elect in the Oval Office. So it's not like the Biden team or administration is trying to stay front and center in any way. And really, I think you'd get the argument from most people in the country, they've kind of not been front and center for quite some time now. So to have a little bit of a running start, to have some American leadership again, I think is not being received negatively by anyone other than the Democrats, who are outside of the administration, evidently, because people are a little bit hungry for America to say, hey, this is our leadership and this is what we're going to go do.
But there are some Democrats who are being loud about this. Let's talk about that next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. In these trying times, when inflation is out of control and our paychecks give us less and less money to support our families, the last thing any of us can afford is for the IRS to garnish wages, levy bank accounts, or seize assets. It's important now more than ever to protect your financial security.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
$66,300.
Let us safeguard you. Visit endtaxworry.com. We have saved countless taxpayers like you millions of dollars, kept businesses in operation, and ensured that our clients receive the best possible outcome.
Nearly $65,000.
$12,000 is something that you can look at and say, okay, I can handle that.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. You work hard for your money. Let us work hard for you. Visit endtaxworry.com.
We're very grateful.
Ooh, ma. What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business calm at ooma.com/radio.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's grape.
Try new Dayquil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
Sometimes when our furnace stops working, it's something simple we can fix ourselves, if we only knew how. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the next time your furnace stops working, before you call a company out to fix it, try this first. Go shut the furnace down and make sure your air filter is clean. Go around the house and make sure the vents are open and there's nothing blocking the return air. If it's been a while since you've changed the batteries in your thermostat, go ahead and do that too. Then go turn the furnace back on, and if it stays on, you're probably good. If it stops working again, you're probably going to want a technician to check it out. If you don't know one, Any Hour Services has a special offer for any homeowners listening. One of our HVAC technicians will diagnose and troubleshoot your furnace for only $29. Then they'll explain what they found and present you with repair options. And don't worry, our technicians service all brands. Call Any Hour Services and let them know you heard about this $29 troubleshooting special on the radio. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Arrive in style in a great fitting suit from Mr. Mac. They ensure a perfect fit, offering fast, free alterations by expert tailors at all 9 Mr. Mac stores. Arrive in style.
An airliner takes off from the Pacific Northwest, carrying 101 passengers and crew. Most aboard Flight 293 are active-duty military and their families, headed to Cold War assignments in Alaska.
Surveillance of the Soviet military buildup.
But somewhere over the ocean, with no distress call, the airliner plunges into the icy water below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, that aircraft would fly.
There were no survivors and no bodies were ever recovered. For decades, loved ones were left to wonder
what happened to Flight 293 and why hasn't there been any follow-up.
The government turned its back. Passengers and crew of Flight 293 were forgotten by everyone, except their families.
Unless we pursue it, we will never be issued a true explanation.
Unsolved Histories: What Happened to Flight 293 is available now. Follow us at unsolvedhistoriespod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, BYU football's bowl matchup is now set. The Cougars will be taking on Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes in the Alamo Bowl. Second, Utah's hospitals still suffering a critical shortage of IV fluids. Hurricane Helene took out one of the biggest production plants in North Carolina, and it's been slow to get that plant back up to full speed. And third, those receiving Social Security benefits will see a bit more in their monthly checks next year. The Social Security Administration says that in 2025, there will be a 2.5% increase for recipients. We're going to shoot for a high of 38 today with a little more sunshine. And right now it's 32 in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega. We're talking about this Wall Street Journal article and other media organizations reporting about this as well, including News Nation. We're going to get them live on the line in just a second. And it's entitled, Biden is Ceding Presidential Influence to Trump, and Some Democrats Are Furious. I want to read this quote, Marty, if I can find it now in this article. It's a really lengthy piece in the Wall Street Journal. It says, fury from the Democrats' progressive wing has been sharper, referring to other quotes there in the article. He said, quote, this is one of the lamest of lame ducks we've seen with the Democratic administration. A massive missed opportunity. And that's a spokesperson for the progressive group known as Justice Democrats. And they're not happy that the nation hasn't heard much from Biden lately.
I would say there are two halves of this. One, they're right. There's been a total vacuum coming out of the White House. The president has been absent, just not out there saying anything. And on the other side of that, it compounds the problems for the Democrats because the Trump transition has actually been very strategic. When you have a strategy, something that when you have ideas and things you're actually doing, actions you're taking, and you communicate on them effectively, that projects leadership to the audience. And that's what the Trump administration or the Trump transition team has done.
So you're in strategic communications for a living. And what I'm hearing from you is, even if we don't agree with his nominees, for example, President Trump-elect nominees, at least he's communicating with us on it.
Well, I mean, just go look at it. And this is pointed out in the article. He's named his intended cabinet and senior staff with what they call in this article, unusual speed, dominating the news environment and forcing lawmakers to react to several nominations at once. He's on offense. There's a vacuum from the administration, and he's on offense. Here's who I'm going to put in charge of this. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what we're putting in place. Here's who I'm meeting with. Here's where I'm going, off to France for the Notre Dame reopening. All of these things, like, he's on the offense, and he's not shy at even taking on media outlets that he doesn't find friendly. He just did like an hour on Meet the Press yesterday. That's unprecedented. That's not something we get from a president-elect almost in any situation. And one that doesn't really have a honeymoon because he's already been president before. Doesn't have a honeymoon with the media in the way that normally a president-elect might enjoy it. So what I see here is he knows what he's going to go do. He's got a game plan, and they're communicating it on it very effectively and eating up news cycles. Meanwhile, the White House is just absentee.
In the meantime, we haven't heard much from Vice President Kamala Harris since she conceded to President-elect Donald Trump.
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition.
And for some Democrats, maybe that's just a little too much help. Kelly Meyer, Washington correspondent for News Nation. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So are you hearing any the backlash from Democrats on this?
Yeah, I mean, and as I'm talking with you, you probably can hear the construction going for the inauguration. There's a stage outside of the White House behind me, and it kind of just shows this transition that you're seeing kind of kick off earlier than it has in other years. We saw that right after the election that, President-elect Trump was really going full steam ahead and picking his selections for his cabinet and really stepping onto the world stage. And we saw that this weekend with him going to France and being there for the opening or the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. And President Biden was not there. In his place was First Lady Jill Biden. So he has been absent in terms of some of those things on the world stage. But I was just talking with folks here at the White House, and they're saying that the president is working every day to ensure that he is doing the work for everyday Americans, but other Democrats may see him kind of shrinking off of the world stage and off of the stage even here domestically, and kind of showing that, when you think of if there's the president right now, many people are looking to it already being President-elect Trump just because of how visible he has been in front of the cameras, maybe more so than President Biden has, especially on this most recent trip overseas. He didn't do a lot of media. He hasn't done that traditional post-election press conference. He did have remarks that he gave here at the White House regarding the latest developments in Syria yesterday. Tuesday, but he hasn't really been in full sight for the last couple of weeks, really since the election.
So I would look at this, Kelly, and say that the administration is no longer feeding the beast. They may not be starving the beast, but they're not feeding the beast the way that an administration normally would. Meanwhile, the Trump transition team is really doing that. And according to the CBS YouGov poll that was cited in the Wall Street Journal piece, 59% of voters approve of Trump's handling of the transition so far. So part of it to me is he's just on offense, and people are welcoming that he's on offense.
Yeah, and, it really shows that he is in front of the cameras. He is conducting this transition really out in the open, as you were saying, and, kind of eating up this news cycle rather than President Biden really kind of staying in the shadows and not really taking, the helm anymore and really kind of showing up in front of those cameras. There's going to be, for the next couple of weeks, Congress will be wrapping up in the next 2 weeks. They'll be entering into these holiday parties and doing the holiday party circuit. And then he kind of goes off and likely to St. Croix for his holiday vacation and then back. And really then he'll be exiting and making his departure. So it really seems as though they're not just in a sense giving up, but they're kind of just letting the president-elect Trump have his time in the spotlight and really not trying to hold on to it for very much longer.
Washington correspondent for News Nation, Kelly Meyer. As always, we so appreciate you joining us and appreciate News Nation's cooperation here and partnership on our show so much. Thank you. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. I would say, as Kelly was talking, I was thinking, this sounds like short-timer syndrome. I mean, who among us hasn't been at a job, right?
Senioritis.
We
right?
give our... just graduating from high school or college in our senior year, and we suddenly just kind of start sloughing.
We went through an election where the Democrats had a losing message because they have a lame duck president and no heir apparent to be the next leader of the party. They have no leadership. And when you have that, it's pretty easy for someone to go on the offensive against you. It's hard to hold the attention of the news cycle at that point. And when you don't do that, and someone who's as good and experienced now at this as Trump and his team are, that's going to be a real problem for you.
I can't help but think that the Democrats are missing some opportunities here because they've got to revamp their message. They've got to get out there. They've got push back. I see occasionally a Democrat on, CNN or MSNBC talking about, something having to do with the new administration. But they don't seem to have a collective voice. And I did not feel like after that loss, they had any time to waste getting them their next act together.
And then they were further hamstrung by the decision to pardon Hunter Biden because you got a whole series of news cycles where people were going, wait, for the average American saying, how is that fair and was that the right thing to do? So even when they went on offense, they clearly put themselves on defense right away. And if you're playing defense, that's not a winning strategy in politics.
Who's winning the message right now?
Oh, Trump is for sure.
By far.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
Lapping him.
And he's got very little time to recover from this. And we haven't seen in much at all, if anything, from Kamala Harris.
And that's to be expected. She lost. She's just the vice president. She needs to sort of step off. She had one attempt at this. She did a video message, I think, around Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, the day after, and it was a total failure. So every time they've tried to go on offense, it hasn't worked out for them. And maybe your best strategy right now is just to lay low. Figure out who your leadership is.
Figure out what your figure out what your new message is.
Yep.
Straight ahead, Salt Lake City and West Valley City land on a list of credit card issues. Wallet Hub saying the amount of credit card debt these cities have, or people who live there have, is just not sustainable.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. We have breaking news. Daniel Penny was found not guilty of negligent homicide by a court in New York City this morning. He was accused of killing Jordan Neely by putting him in a chokehold in a subway car last year. The jury deadlocked on a manslaughter charge and deliberated for more than 24 hours on the negligent homicide charge. Neely was homeless. Penny's lawyers argued that he had acted to save others on the subway from a violent and desperate man.
A woman in her 80s was killed in an auto pedestrian accident in Cottonwood Heights this morning. Police say it happened around 7 a.m. near 6200 South Wasatch Boulevard. The driver said they didn't see her because it was dark. A woman who was hospitalized after a 6-car crash in Eagle Mountain last week is urging people to be more patient while they're driving. KSL News Radio's Earl Johansson has that story.
Dana Smith says she and her husband Tim were on their way to a doctor's appointment when the crash happened. Dana told KSL TV she didn't recognize their truck.
The way the truck looked when I saw the picture, it looked like we were a ping pong ball. I don't know how we survived.
Dana was released from the hospital on Saturday, but the Smiths aren't sure when Tim will be coming home or if the crash caused any permanent damage. Dana hopes people will be more patient as they drive.
We all have places to go, and we all have things to do, but is it worth hurting somebody that bad that it could potentially kill somebody?
Earl Johansson, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is just barely up 1.6 points right now. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, is down 81 right now. And our KSL weather, looks like we're going to see things clear up for the day or next day or two. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01. News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hello, car donation hotline.
Hi, I'd like to donate a car to the Utah Kidney Foundation. Are you in Utah?
Awesome. Let's get some info and we'll send you a tow truck.
But I want my car donation to benefit my neighbor in Farmington who needs a transplant. Are you in Utah?
That's a gnaw. I'm in SoCal, but you're still donating to charity.
What charity?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I want my donation to stay in Utah.
Righteous dude. You need to call tow cars in Utah. Locals only, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I remember tow cars with a K like kidney. It's on a billboard somewhere. TOWKARS.org. That's it. Towcars.org.
If you'd like your vehicle donation to help Utah kidney patients in the Beehive State, please use the web address on their billboard, towcars.org, to donate your old car or truck. That's TOWK like kidney, ARS. Towcars.org.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
This holiday season, give the gift of joy with Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates. Imagine the delight on your loved ones' faces as they unwrap a box of their handcrafted gourmet chocolates. From creamy caramels to chocolate-covered treats, each piece is made with love and the finest ingredients. Family owned for over 60 years, Mrs. Kavanaugh's offers a tradition of quality and care. Whether it's their famous chocolate-covered nuts or their decadent fudge, Mrs. Kavanaugh's has something to make every holiday moment sweeter. Find the perfect gifts this year for your family, friends, and employees at MrsKavanaughs.com or visit their retail store to explore their holiday specials and delicious corporate gifts. Order now and make the season unforgettable with the magic of Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates, where every bite is a memory. Share the sweetness.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app
Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, Utah County drivers just can't get a break this morning. We have a new crash southbound I-15 near 5th East and American Fork. This is totally separate from the two other crashes that were within a mile of this area earlier this morning. Now, right now, 3 left lanes are blocked, only a few right lanes getting through. That has traffic backed up all the way into Lehigh. And then if you're northbound I-15 trying to exit Utah County, we've got a new crash right near the point of the mountain. That is also blocking 3 left lanes of travel, so only right lanes getting through there. That has traffic backed up almost to 2100 north in Lehigh, so still a bit of a problem if you're in Utah County. Arrive in style in a great fitting suit from Mr. Mac. They ensure a perfect fit, offer fast, free alterations by expert tailors at all 9 Mr. Mac stores. Arrive in style. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with cleaner air today, then sunny tomorrow and Wednesday with highs in the 40s. Right now, we're at 33 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
There's a new survey out regarding credit card debt, and there are 2 cities that really caught my attention. Because I drive through, I've lived in the county for a long, long time. I drive through your cities all the time in West Valley and Salt Lake City. I mean, I work in Salt Lake City. And Wallet Hub is saying that these 2 cities, along with many, many, many other cities across the nation, have the least amount of sustainable credit card debt. And what they mean by that is it's about to break, y'all. I'm going to go over in just a second with Marty Carpenter here, who's filling in today for Dave Noriega, how much credit card debt West Valley and Salt Lake City residents are in. And what also caught my attention, Marty, here is how many years, if they just make the minimum payment, they'd be stuck in this cycle of trying to pay off these credit cards.
Yeah, and when we talked about this earlier, I thought, the basic premise of, hey, if you only pay the minimum on your credit card, it's going to take you a long time to pay it off. That's true across the board.
Sure,
right. If you put $100 on your credit card and you say, oh, I'm only going to pay the minimum,
which is $10 or something,
right? Then you're going to pay that off for the next 7 years before you actually ever catch up to the interest and get it paid off. So that part doesn't surprise me. That if the headline is, oh, if you paid the minimum on your credit card, get ready to pay for many years and pay way more than the item you initially purchased. But I understand that not everyone's in a position to say, hey, I can just pay off my credit card all the time. And people use these when they think, oh, I can just either A, keep buying because I have a credit limit and I'll pay it off eventually, or B, I'm in a trouble spot and I'm going to use it right now and I'll be able to pay it off, and then something else happens and something else happens. And all of this is essentially possibly driven by inflationary costs, right?
Sure.
Just life is costing everyone more. And so people are thinking maybe my income will catch up to that here in the next year or two. And so for right now, this is the best approach I can come up with. I don't think that's solid thinking, but I can understand how people could get to that point.
Well, I'm the unsolid thinker of the group then, because I am this case study. I was this case study back in the 90s of having way more debt than I could afford to pay off. Certainly not all in 1 month, but it ended up taking me almost 5 years. I mean, I looked at this survey this morning. I'm like, this is me. This is exactly what I went through back in the day. And the lessons learned from that, having paid all that interest, it was in the 20% was my interest rate.
Was that living expenses that pushed it that way? Or was it looking back, do you say, and it was some treats that I now being who you are now, looking back at yourself that age, you go, I could have gone without that.
It's like gas. Yeah, that's a real treat.
Well, gas to get to work, that's an expense you need. But I don't know. Was it something like, well, I needed this clothing or I needed my nails done or whatever it is that
that's another thing. I've never been a big get my nails done kind of person.
Me neither. I got to be honest with you.
So let me just walk you through how it happened, and then we'll get to the statistics and the number of years it'll take West Valley City residents and Salt Lake City residents to pay it off. So my situation is very common. Very common. I got a job out of college, right? It didn't pay me a lot. It paid me $11,000 a year. back in 1989. Was it 1989? Yeah, it was 1989. Okay.
I can do the inflation calculation.
Yeah, but then I go like you left KSL many years ago. You worked here as an editor to go be on the news, to go be on camera.
Right.
Well, I was behind the scenes at the CBS affiliate in Phoenix, working for $11,000 a year. Well, then I get an offer to go be on camera, be a news reporter, anchor, and the weather person in Yuma, Arizona. It was a fabulous opportunity for me. But it was a pay cut to $10,000 a year. Well, everyone thinks, well, that's no big deal because you're gonna pay cheaper rent in Yuma, right? I mean, not naturally you think you're living on the border, it's got to be cheaper. No, rent was 60% of my annual income.
Yeah,
it wasn't cheap there.
It's the equivalent for our audience of making like $27,000 today.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So imagine making $27,000 and your rent, or maybe your mortgage payment if you have a mortgage, is 60% of your income. It's like way out of whack. So in order to afford to eat, I would either have to find a dollar worth of quarters that had fallen in the seat, in my car in the last several years that I'd driven that car, or I had to put it on a credit card. I consistently ran out of money, like $0 in my bank account before payday 3 or 4 days, and I would have no food in the fridge. I don't expect anybody to feel sorry for me. It's just how it was.
Yeah.
It taught me a lot of
particularly
lessons about
if you went into broadcast television in
yeah.
that time period. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, it was. You just
I
didn't
had the
make
same
any
thing
money.
where the
Right.
first time I got a job offer on to be on air, I think it was in Pocatello, Idaho, and it was like $19,000.
That would have been a lot of money.
Well, I wish
to
someone
me.
had told me this
Yeah,
before I just
I know,
spent 4
right?
years getting a degree in this.
So I have a lot of sympathy and compassion for people who are in this position because I've been there, and I racked up $3,000, maybe $3,300. I think it was as high as $3,500 on a credit card that was charging me more than 20% interest. And when you can only afford to make the minimum payment, just so you don't go into some sort of credit reporting nightmare, right? Credit ding nightmare, which I did consistently make my payment and made it on time. You just do the minimum, and you do that, and you try to mentally dismiss it because it'll eat you alive. Debt eats me alive.
You were looking at it then as a little bit of an investment to say, look, this is what I make on TV
Right.
in Yuma, but I'm only going to be here for a year, and then my next market I'll make better, and the next market I'll make better. Because I've been in that same spot. Like, all right, Topeka, Kansas, here's what I make. All right, next market, Tulsa, Oklahoma, here's what I make. What do you move on to the next one? So I can understand it then to that extent where you're saying it was sort of like, oh, I can do this because I got to float for a year until I can get the next job that pays me better, and then I can address it.
A little bit. Plus, I was young, and I could afford not to eat for a couple of days. Like, honestly, like you can get through.
I've never been that young.
Yeah. You can get through it as long as you have a couple of snacks in the old, the cabinet. So West Valley City right now is sitting at a median credit card debt of about $2,400. Salt Lake City, according to this survey that we got this morning, is at $2,900. And for both, it'll take in the neighborhood. This is exactly the WD situation, 5 years to pay it off, making the minimum payment. I know there are a lot of ways to tackle this credit card debt. There is a big trend going on right now. I've seen it on TikTok about engaging and just diving into a no-spend 2025.
In 2025, we know exactly what we're doing, and we're going to stick to it. So my rules are, 1, no new clothes whatsoever. I have a closet full of amazing items. I have no room for new clothing. Number 2, no new beauty products. Self-explanatory. I am allowed to purchase new beauty products if I have used all my backups for a product.
And there are a lot of people saying they're going to go in on this no-spend 2025. It sounds good to me. Things come up. You have to get to the point where I needed another car to drive once I did move here. So you think, oh, well, you're going to be able to pay it off once you get more income. Well, other things pop up. We've all been there. Or you get a medical bill. I got a migraine. Didn't ever have a migraine before. First migraine I ever had was when I was at Channel 4, and I was talking to one of our anchors, and half of her face disappeared. And they thought... Right? They thought stroke.
Right.
They did. I had numbness on the right side of my body. I could hardly talk. They threw me in the back of a news van, and they ran me to the local emergency room where they diagnosed me with just like a classic migraine. It's still, which I was grateful for because we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was a migraine. But that was like, I was like, no, not more credit card debt, right? No, please.
And now you'd
I'll
be saying,
okay.
I got hurt at work. This is great. Someone else is paying for it.
No. This was all on me, Marty. So straight ahead, let's see if there's a secret sauce to paying off your debt faster. Money experts say, yeah, there is. And it may start with a zero-interest credit card, something I didn't really know much about back then. So next, we're going to talk to a money expert from Wallet Hub about what are the best zero-interest credit cards with lower transfer fees on the market.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
I just love when we have Christine Dixon, owner of Renaissance Ranch, and also a marriage and family therapist, in studio with us to talk about the great things that are going on at Renaissance Ranch. Happy holidays, Christine.
Happy holidays to you, too.
So how is the approach at Renaissance Ranch to healing for the clients there different from other addiction treatment centers?
You know, I think we do a lot of the same modalities that a lot of treatment centers do, but I would say there's two things that's really stand out. Number one is the research is indicating that the environment that our loved ones are going home to after treatment is the number one thing that will influence whether or not they're able to be successful in long-term sobriety.
What do you mean by that?
So what we mean by that is the family environment, whatever they're going home to, those relationships that are closest to them. If we can have them come to our classes and they can start that process of learning and getting some education and knowledge, then they become a very healthy and a helpful support person, right? Versus the patterns, those cycles and those patterns that oftentimes families get stuck in. So the family members need to have some support and they need to have some hope and learn from other people what's working.
One of the things I love and I appreciate that Renaissance Ranch does is these free online classes for the community. Talk about that.
Okay, yeah. I'm so excited about this. So several years ago, we started these online groups. We have actually 13 groups, but 11 are open to the public. So like parents, spouses, partners, friends, family members can come to our groups. They're free. They're online. They're just Zoom. We also have this we call the Ranch Family emails that go out to everybody and anybody who wants information. If they get on the email list, we feel like education is huge. They need to understand, number one, the disease aspect of addiction, that their loved ones are not bad people who need to be good, but they're sick. And they need to learn how to manage their addiction, just like a diabetic would learn how to manage their insulin. So the classes are critical and vital to helping the whole family system to heal.
I love it. Stick around because I want to get into more specifics about some of the classes you offer. Thanks, Christine. You can find more information at renaissanceranch.com.
Dominion Energy customers in Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho are now proudly served by Enbridge Gas. Enbridge looks forward to a bright future together. To learn more, visit enbridgegas.com.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place?
Utah? You sure you want to do that in Utah?
Built with players no one else wanted.
We knew no one believed in us.
Reached the league's highest heights.
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
Russell has made it
champion out of Real Salt Lake.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a court in New York City has acquitted Daniel Penny on a negligent homicide charge. He was accused of putting a homeless man on the subway in a chokehold. Second, an elderly woman was hit by a car and killed this morning in Cottonwood Heights. And third, American officials are worried the groups that overthrew the government of Syria could now turn on each other. 33 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
One of the things I'm very, very, very passionate about is having compassion for people who find themselves in over their heads with credit card debt, because I've been there. And B, finding ways that you can, maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't, but you could at least explore to more quickly get out of credit card debt. We're going to talk about that in just a moment.
Yeah, a few things that would jump to mind, just putting on my dad hat now, right? And remembering my parents telling me, don't get into credit card debt. Don't get into credit card debt. One, cut your expenses, right? Figure out how you can live with less. And we kind of talked about that a little bit in the last segment. I think we get into a consumerism trap. I'm as guilty of it as anybody, where it's like, well, I got some money, I'll spend it. I can just spend it. And sometimes you almost do it without thinking anymore because it's become so easy on your phone. Figure out the balance transfer that you're talking about, these 0% credit cards, and then, pay off that smallest one first and just start eating away at it.
Yeah. The one method that worked for me is to put that credit card in the nightstand. And that's hard today because everybody takes a credit card. And this is back in the 90s. I think we had checks. I don't even think we had debit cards yet. Those hadn't been invented.
Are they still
there wasn't
moving
Apple
the thing
Pay,
over the
yes.
carbon paper to get the credit card number?
But I had to go with a no spend vacation. I'd take a week of vacation. I was at Channel 4 News at the time, and I would spend it at home. I would spend it doing a staycation, if you will. I couldn't afford to travel out of the state, let alone even out of the county, if I was going to be on a no spend plan. So what I did is I just put that credit card away, and then I focused on it holistically by taking on a side hustle.
Yeah.
Worked at a radio station, did morning drive. I've talked about this before on the show. If you've been a listener of the show, you know how my level of passion is through the roof with this. And I dedicated every single penny I made from that side hustle to go strictly to that credit card. And that's what did it for me. It got that thing paid off in 3 months, but every penny I earned went to that side hustle. And I was making a whole $10 an hour. Thanks, KKAT. But they got me over the hump, right? They got me through that, and I got that credit card paid off. I wish I would have done it sooner, because think of all the interest at 20 or 22%, whatever my rate was, that I had accumulated on that card in addition to the amount, the balance I had to pay off.
And you wouldn't want to do it again. You wouldn't want to go through that again, but you learned from it to not repeat that, right? Like, what I'm hearing is, Debbie did this once.
Yeah.
Once.
One time. Wallet Hub editor John Kiernan on the phone with us live. I'm looking forward to giving our listeners maybe some secret sauce information about how to get into these 0% balance transfer cards, John. I think this could be key for some people to get out of debt sooner.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on. That's very interesting to hear about your situation. I think a lot of people are definitely in the same boat looking at the overall credit card debt numbers. And as you mentioned, a balance transfer credit card can be a really big asset in getting out of credit card debt if you use it responsibly, which is kind of the trick for people who've had some issues with credit card debt. Kind of most importantly, you can't treat it as if a 0% balance transfer card will always be around. A lot of people try to hop from one card to another, kind of keeping up unsustainable spending habits for as long as they can. And there comes a time when you can't get approved for any more, and then you're stuck with a whole bunch of debt that's very, very high interest. So as you mentioned, the best way to go about it is to try to do it once and kind of scratch and claw and put everything you can to getting out of that debt so you don't have to deal with the high interest rates.
So if someone finds themselves in a position where they need to do this, what are the main things that they should look at when it comes to selecting the card they want to go with?
First of all, the most important thing to do is to check your credit score. Unfortunately, the best balance transfer credit card offers require good or excellent credit for approval. And so we tend to recommend those cards for someone with a 700-plus credit score. There are some cards for people with slightly lower scores, but checking your score early on in the process will help you kind of focus on the cards that are most appropriate for you. Beyond that, the most important things to look at are the length of the introductory interest rate period. So you can often get a 0% period, and the average right now is nearly 13 months of 0%, but you can get anywhere from 6 to 21 months without any interest. In addition to that length of the 0% period, you also have to look at the balance transfer fee. Most of the cards with good 0% periods charge around 3% to 5%. And then depending on your payoff schedule, you should look at the high regular APR too, the regular APR, which is high. So basically any balance that's remaining at the end of the promotional period will be subject to the regular APR. So you should try to pay off your balance before then.
So let's just take one of on the list of Wallet Hub's good balance, 0% balance transfer cards is the City Simplicity card. It's 0% for 21 months, and the balance transfer fee is 3%. So if I have, let's just take Salt Lake City, for example, Salt Lake City resident, I'm one of these who has $3,000, in credit card debt on a card. That 3% would be how much of a fee would that be? $100 or so?
Yeah, it's about $90.
Okay.
So you do need to factor those fees into. It is $90, and that is a lot. But when you compare the total cost of getting out of debt with one of those cards versus a regular APR and no balance transfer fee, you're still saving a lot of money.
Right. So I'm
looking. You could easily save over $1,000 in finance charges with the fee factored in.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that if you do the 0%, let's say you really go after that and you pay that off within the 21 months, John. At 0%, you're going to save yourself a lot of money in interest.
Yeah, a ton of money, way more than the balance transfer fee, as long as you avoid the regular interest rate. And we have a balance transfer calculator on Wallet Hub that you can plug in your monthly payment, the balance transfer fee, and all your APRs, and kind of get a sense of how much you can save. But the average person nationwide could easily save like $5,000, for example, on getting out of they have about $10,000 in credit card debt, and paying that off over 21 months with a 0% card versus the average regular APR is between $5,000 and $6,000 in savings.
But it essentially, going to the Debbie example, it stops the bleeding, right? It stops the interest going up. It gives you a window of 12, 13 months where you can pay it off without that interest accumulating. But you do have to have also the Debbie plan of, I'm going to get a side hustle because I'm either going to, two things you did, put your credit card in a drawer so you stop the spending. That keeps the balance from going up. Right. And then the interest is stopped because of the card. And then the third thing is you went and got some extra income. So you attacked it from three angles, which really what you're saying here on these cards is, I'm going to buy myself a window of time to go attack it, as opposed to, I'm out of jail free.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't solve all your problems. It makes getting out of debt a lot less expensive and a lot quicker, but you could easily wind up back in the same situation if you don't address kind of the fundamental problems, whether that's a lack of income or unnecessary expenses. So you definitely have to kind of combine this with some common sense budgeting. And we actually recommend people, before they really, really put their nose to the grindstone to focus on credit card debt, is to build up a couple months income in an emergency fund, just so you don't scratch and claw to get debt free, and then you wind up with car trouble, and you're right back where you started.
Yeah. Wallet Hub editor John Kiernan has been our guest. It's not a get out of jail free card, but it is probation to help you get things back in order.
Right.
All right, coming up next, the cell phone that could give your kids, that you could give your kids for Christmas. It's not an iPhone, it's not an Android. It gives you much more control over who can contact them. We're going to talk about that next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. 11 people are recovering after a carbon monoxide leak at a business in West Jordan over the weekend. Firefighters had initially been called out to Otto & Sons meat processing plant after a woman fainted. Several other employees reported feeling dizzy and had headaches. First responders found high levels of carbon monoxide and evacuated the building. The cause of the leak still being investigated. A verdict has been reached now in the high-profile trial of a former Marine whose actions on a New York City subway sparked national debate. ABC's Dave Packer has that story.
Former Marine Daniel Penny found not guilty of criminally negligent homicide in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely. Penny was accused of causing Neely's death during a confrontation on a New York City subway train last May. Neely, a homeless man with a history of mental illness, had reportedly frightened passengers before Penny restrained him. Mixed reaction in the courtroom. Some were cheering, but Neely's father cursing and asked to leave. Dave Packer, ABC News, New York.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average has now slipped down 75 points in the past half hour. NASDAQ down 91 points right now. And our KSL weather, the smog is mostly gone, but we've got clouds. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I always love talking to Christine Dixon, an owner of Renaissance Ranch and a marriage and family therapist. And Christine, when you come in here, I just feel like there's so much hope for families that have a loved one who is going through addiction.
You know, there really is. And especially this time of year, I just felt so important to talk about the hope, because I feel like these patterns of addiction have been in families sometimes for generations and generations. And yet when you start putting yourself in these 12-step rooms, you know, millions of people have found recovery through 12-step programs. And that is something that does also set us apart, is we have 9 different locations and centers between residential and outpatient, and men and women treatment centers that are, you know, gender specific. But when people come in and they start to hear the stories of hope of what's working for other people, they recognize they're not alone, that there's support, and they see other people in the group that have been through exactly the same things that they have been, whether it's someone with addiction or it's a family member, and they recognize, oh my gosh, you know, maybe I'm finally in a place where I can finally get my life back.
I really like and appreciate that you offer these free online classes to anybody in the public.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm looking at the list. You have, you know, Monday through Sunday, you have these free online classes that are available. I'm looking at one on Wednesday at 11 a.m., Overcoming Codependency.
Yeah.
Just give us a brief idea of what you'd learn if you logged onto that class through Zoom.
Well, you bet. All of the classes actually deal with codependency, which just is a word from the therapeutic community that means my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are really become tied to somebody else. If they're having a good day, I'm having a good day. If they're having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. All of the classes deal with that. And the classes are, again, they're for parents, they're for spouses. Our Sunday class is for youth, that is run by youth. They're all 12-step based. We use a beautiful manual. It's a Healing Through Christ, the best workbook I have found anywhere on the internet to help families. If you're out there right now and you have a loved one struggling, it's healingthroughchrist.org. There's one for the family members, and then there's for individuals who are struggling with addiction. So wonderful resources, free. Just click on Zoom, and you're there.
Christine, stick around, because I want to talk to you next about rolling back the stigma that we've associated for so long with addiction. You can find out more information at renaissanceranch.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Heather Kelly.
We're still dealing with a couple of crashes in Utah County. Both of them involve multiple vehicles, and there's additional emergency crews on the scene as well. So southbound I-15, you are going to be very slow. A lot of stop and go from about 1200 north in Lehigh all the way down to Pioneer Crossing in American Fork. That has the HOV lane and left shoulder blocked. And then if you're northbound I-15 trying to get out of Utah County, we've got a crash just before the point of the mountain, the border of Salt Lake County. That also is blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder and has traffic backed up before SR 92. So all of that is adding a good 10 extra minutes to your commutes either direction. Teens can get up to $200 with a Teen Learn and Earn account. Plus, continue earning rewards as they master the essentials of finance. More at cypresscu.com/teen. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy skies with cleaner air today. Sunny tomorrow and Wednesday with highs in the 40s. Right now, 34 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
This was one of the hardest decisions I didn't see coming as a parent when my kids were born in the 90s. All of them were born in the 90s. I had 3 kids under the age of 3.5, and 3 kids under the age of 3.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's busy.
So then comes the freight train of cell phones, right?
Yeah.
You know,
you've got those little kids and you think this is as hard as it's going to get. The problems maybe become less frequent but larger as they get bigger.
Listen to that evil mom laugh.
Because that's just not the way it works.
You go ahead and you keep thinking that, because those are the glorious years when you just had to worry about, plugging the outlets with those things that keep the outlets safe, and making sure your kid wasn't grabbing the scissors to chop their best friend's hair off, which happened twice in my home.
But that's pretty low stakes compared to the stuff you get later on.
Give them a cell phone. And, of course, my kids, they wanted an iPhone. And initially we were like, nope, you can have a pink flip phone. Remember that pink? I think it was called a Razor.
The Razor, the Motorola Razor.
Yeah, we passed it. My daughter got it first, and they had a certain amount of minutes, and that was it. No access to the internet. I think there was text available on it or something like that. And then my son got it, and he's like, I'll have it. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Your biggest concern was how many texts are they sending and receiving, because they're like a dime a piece, right? Make sure you get that unlimited texting plan.
I wish that Gab was around when my kids were of an age where they were starting to get cell phones, because I love what Gab is doing. In fact, we're going to get the owner, Lance Black. He's a founding partner at Gab on the line in just a second. But when we started out, we did the flip phone, and then we went to the iPhone, but they had to be 15 years old. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that?
I wish I'd had the same kind of restraint. My kids were born a little bit later on than yours. So my daughter was born in 2004, so she turned 12 in 2016. You were already at like the iPhone 6, I think, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't say for sure, I know I made the right call, but we gave her a cell phone and gave her some guiding principles and tried to watch it. And, I think every parent has to kind of make this tough decision on their own. And it's weird because as a parent, you're suddenly dealing with junior high peer pressure again of like, well, I don't really want my kid to not be able to communicate with her classmates, but there are certainly some dangers that come with it.
Yeah. And you're giving, it sounds like I'm giving access to strangers, my kids, strangers access to my kids by giving me a cell phone. So maybe this is one of those cell phones you could give your kids. It's not an iPhone, it's not an Android, but it gives you more peace of mind. It's called Gab. Lance Black, founding partner at Gab. Good morning.
Good morning, Debbie and Marty. How are you guys this morning?
Good. I'm sure you remember, or at least you've heard stories from employees who wrestle with this same decision. It's a tough one for parents. So talk to us about how the Gab phone is different.
Well, listening to you a little bit before I came on, talk about a freight train. That's a great analogy, because parents they're faced with this dilemma. I want to stay connected to my kids, but I don't want I don't want them to have access to a lot of the dangers that come. I want to be protected. And so at Gab, we set out to solve that problem, and we have a safe phone for kids. It's what you would expect. It's a way that they can stay connected to their friends and their family through calling and texting and a camera and some of these features that are really fun to have. But then none of the stuff that's dangerous, right? No social media, no browsers, no internet browsers, no addictive games, no harmful apps. And so it allows a child to have the best of technology in a stepped way, if you will, but without the dangers that come with it.
How old? I mean, does it have an age like games have like age 3 to 10 or something like that? What would a Gab phone cover in your view, Lance?
Well, the beauty is every parent's different, right? So the parent is totally empowered, and so we offer a safe watch for younger children, and then usually we see by about 4th or 5th grade, kids start asking for phones, and so we have the perfect first phone, which is kind of an entrant into having a safe phone or a cell phone, and it has those features that I mentioned, and that's good from 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then kids start wanting perhaps a little more freedom, a little more access, and so we have a teen phone as well called the Gab Phone 4 Pro that still has the safety that Gab promises, but allows the parent to enable maybe a few apps that the kid would like as they mature and grow.
So if you go this route and get a Gab phone, do you take that phone and then put it on like your same carrier and your same plan, or is it a separate, does this tie in with Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, or how does that work?
Yeah, so Gab is the cell phone company. So you get your bill from Gab. So when you buy a Gab watch or a Gab phone, it shows up at your porch either from our site or from Amazon. You spend a few minutes and activate it, and then that comes with a monthly service plan. So they start at about $24 a month. So right now we have our phones are free during our Cyber Week sale, and then for the cost of a lot less than you're paying on your family plan right now to have other people on the family plan, you'd be able to have a Gab phone for around $24 a month.
And Lance, this gives a child access to a camera, and they can only send photos to people that are on their contact list, but other social media, no? Okay. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think you mentioned peace of mind.
Yeah.
Parents want peace of mind. They also don't want a job, right? They all know that their kids are smarter than them as far as figuring out technology. And so the Gab phone has the necessary parental controls to keep them safe without the worry of, are they going to have one up on me? And so it has you can manage contact lists, to your point, so you can control here's the list of people that I'm comfortable with my son or daughter communicating with, and by so doing, that would keep predators out and dangerous connections that come and from strangers. And so Gab phone is a perfect phone if you want to keep strangers out and all the dangers that come from that, and you can do that through managed contact lists that come through our pretty simple parental controls.
All right, Lance Black is the founding partner at Gab. It's a Utah-based company, right, Lance?
It's correct, right here in Lehi, Utah, right in heart of Silicon Slopes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Lance. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Congratulations on your success, and also for doing something that can keep kids safe. It might not work for every family. Maybe it's something that does work for you. I just wanted to talk to Gab today about it because, first of all, anytime a Utah company is doing good, we want to highlight them. But also because it gives you an option you hadn't thought of before. Your kid's begging for a cell phone. You don't feel like they're quite old enough to know how to deal with everything that's going to be coming at them. We do so much coverage here, and we have for years, about predators who are out there who want to do nothing more than cause harm and evil to your child. They will never have your child's best interest at heart. And it's just an uncomfortable place that parents find themselves in, telling their child yes or no to a cell phone. And you say yes, you're going to lose sleep. If you say no, you're going to lose sleep.
Yeah, there's sort of a no-win situation, but at least this maybe gives you a little bit of control if you're in the market looking for something like that for your kid. And, it's different for every kid. It's different for every family, but at least you have more options than you might have been presented with previously.
Straight ahead, it's a story we were tracking all last week. I kept tracking it over the weekend. More evidence emerging in the United Care healthcare murder investigation out of New York. The New York City mayor speaking on the investigation to WABC over the weekend.
But the net is tightening, and we're going to bring this person to justice.
Saying the net is tightening, but yet no suspect in custody. More straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Imagine a currency that has true value. A currency that's local, protects your wealth, and resists inflation. Now imagine that currency is anchored to the stability of gold. Introducing Goldbacks, a currency made of 24-karat gold, accepted at over 800 businesses in Utah. Don't just imagine it. Visit alpinegold.com to start spending in gold. Use promo code RADIO to get free shipping on orders of over $200 or more.
We're talking right now to Christine Dixon. She's an owner of Renaissance Ranch and also a marriage and family therapist, and she's been in studio with me for about 45 minutes now, talking to us about many things that Renaissance Ranch offers, including these free online classes that are open to the public. We've been talking about how you can get more information at renaissanceranch.com. And I want to talk now about rolling back the stigma when it comes to addiction, Christine, because I know for so long there's been a stigma attached to it.
Yeah, there really has. And what's exciting is in the 1930s, when Alcoholics Anonymous came out with these 12-step groups, my gosh, people started to get sober for the first time in the history of the world. And fast forward, to where we are today, millions of people have found sobriety and happiness. But it takes getting in with a group. It takes having other people who've been through it to kind of help you walk through it. It's important also for the families to understand the disease aspect. Like we're talking that they have a midbrain disease. That is the organ that's impacted. That's why insurance companies are willing to pay for treatment and help people, like through Medicaid and different things like that, get their lives back. It's critical that families understand that it is a disease, and the core center of addiction is often the shame. So we have to get rid of the stigma. We have to help them understand, look, this is just like if you had cancer or diabetes. We got to help you do something new and different to get your brain working again. And it's possible. There's so much hope out there. As soon as they come to a group or a meeting, people can call renaissanceranch.com. We always have, Lane is right there. He's also a mental health counselor. He's a man in recovery himself. All of our staff are all in recovery. So they all understand what it takes to get sober. We also have a lifetime aftercare program. Once people get involved, that they, every week we have classes for couples, for our ranch alumni. We have a brotherhood. There's so much free that happens forever. Once you're part of the ranch family, you're with us forever. It doesn't matter if they come one day or not. But the classes, again, too, are also for individuals. We have a men's addiction group, a women's addiction recovery group. We have couples groups. We have a wives group. There's just so many resources out there. And then we will also hook them up with all the community resources that are available, like through maybe the church or through AA or Al-Anon.
It's a wonderful resource. Christine, thank you for all the work you're doing. And thanks for coming and joining me this morning. If you want to find out more information, all you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com. Again, that's renaissanceranch.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, 11 people were treated for exposure to carbon monoxide after they got sick at a business in West Jordan. Second, a court in New York has found Daniel Penny not guilty of negligent homicide in the death of a homeless man he held in a chokehold on a subway. And third, police in Pennsylvania are questioning a man in connection with the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. 34 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. The D2 follow-up report. We stay connected to important stories to give you the latest.
The manhunt continues for the shooter, the person who is accused of murdering the United Healthcare CEO last week. And I think what the storyline has become over the weekend is, why is nobody in custody? Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega. You hear Marty from time to time co-hosting Inside Sources in the afternoon. He's on the docket for later this
Thursday,
week.
Thursday.
Oh, good. I'll be listening. And former co-worker at KSL 5 Television. Now you are involved in a company that focuses on strategic communication. But in this case, when we're talking about this earlier today before the show and talking about, continuing our discussion, you're like, I've got a lot of thoughts on this.
I got one basic thought on this.
I'll let you stay in the, he'll let me stay in the, what I know in terms of having covered crime for many years of my career. So.
I'll defer to your expertise because you have more insight on this. But let me give you the average Joe look at this.
I want to hear it.
They're not going to catch this guy.
Really?
If they didn't catch him yet, they're not going to catch him. They've look. I'm going to be average Joe citizen who happens to be sitting in front of the microphone. We saw the video. Then we saw a couple of photos released. Every time it's someone in a slightly different colored jacket with a different colored backpack. None of those guys look to me like the same guy. The guy got on a bike and rode away. No one stopped him or followed him right away. A city bike,
yeah.
Evidently they found a backpack, or they're saying they found a backpack that's his, but it's full of Monopoly money. So I have no idea if it's his backpack or not. Doesn't seem like they have said anything other than we're tightening the net. But this guy probably paid cash. I mean, it looked like he knew what he was doing, right? He probably only had cash on him, didn't leave a credit card trail, probably found his way as quickly as he could off of Manhattan Island. And right now he's probably in Switzerland. Like, if they haven't caught him yet, I doubt this guy's just sitting around waiting to get caught. It looked to me like this is a guy who got out of town, and now good luck finding this.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
So I allowed you to give your take, and as I was
now you tell me why I'm wrong.
You were giving this take, I thought, no, I'm pretty confident, just having done crime stories for the vast majority of my reporting career, and also having worked behind the scenes at the FBI as the spokesperson. I can tell you when things look like there's no hope. Sometimes there's a lot more hope than the cops are letting on. So as you were saying this, I was Googling ABC News because I got word from our producer here, Marty, that a man in Pennsylvania was stopped with a fake New Jersey ID and is being held for questioning in connection with the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. And apparently it's in New York City. So man held for questioning in Pennsylvania. So, well, the murder was in New York City. So what they're saying is they've got a man in custody, being held for questioning in connection with Brian Thompson's murder. He was on a Greyhound bus traveling through Altoona on Monday morning when he got off and walked into a McDonald's where a witness recognized him from the images of the suspect circulated by police. And apparently ABC News has quite a bit of information because they go on to say that the man had a similar gun to the one used in Wednesday's assassination-style killing outside that Midtown Manhattan hotel. Okay, so we have
So outside of shooting the guy, that's the first stupid thing he's done is kept the gun, right?
Apparently. Well, now we don't know if
right. If this is the guy, then you'd say
if this is the guy. So I'm trying to look for more information here to see. One of Altoona man's fake IDs also matched the fake ID shown to the suspected gunman when he checked into the Upper West Side hostel. So before the shooting. So, wow, this is a major development. When did we get word on this? This is a major development, and what appears to be at least an individual in custody right now. In the shooting death of the CEO, the healthcare insurance CEO, Brian Thompson. What we didn't know until just a few minutes ago is potentially, at least we don't know for sure, is who this individual was. And I was completely on board with you to a point. And when you were saying like they'll never, I mean, I think we were worried about that. Certainly by the time we were into day 5, we were concerned about where they would ever catch this guy. But let me just say from my experience, only my experience and my opinion, my thoughts. New York City has one of the most massive camera networks, surveillance camera networks that I've ever seen. They obviously were able to, within a matter of hours, track where this individual had stayed because within short order, they were searching that hostel and had determined that he had arrived by bus, likely from Atlanta, and had been in the city far prior to the actual shooting. They had video of the shooting. They had him at several points, and it was just a matter of time before they were able to find that backpack in Central Park. Now, some would say, well, it's a park. I was in Central Park last summer with our producer, Caitlin. We were in New York City for an event, and we walked Central Park. There's no way we could walk that park in a day, let alone 2 or 3. That park is huge, and they've got all kinds of different things going on. They've got, much like Liberty Park, only on a much more massive scale. They've got the pond that they were apparently sent divers into over the weekend to look for the weapon. If this is the individual that they've stopped at this McDonald's in Pennsylvania and he still has the weapon on him, we can now know why they haven't been able to find that weapon. They did eventually find the backpack that he was seen carrying, and they said inside the backpack was some Monopoly money, which was another twist I didn't see coming at all. And they also had the pictures inside the cab that they recently released, which was much more clear. Apparently, when you get inside a cab and they put that little window down, or it's down between the back seat and the front seat, they take a really good photo of you. So they were able to release that. I would imagine, only guessing, it took them a little while to track down, what cab he got into. And as you said, using only cash. But look, I mean, in today's world, we just don't have the unsolved cases like this at the rate we did in the past.
Yeah, I guess I should have put in the caveat in my earlier diatribe that you have to wait for the criminal or the alleged criminal. Someone clearly shot the guy. Someone's the criminal. We saw that much. To do something dumb. So keep exposing your face to a cab driver where the camera would get you.
You might not know it's there, though. You might not know there's a camera there.
But yeah, and and then the leaving the backpack in Central Park. I don't mean to turn into the guy who's like, well, here's how I would have done it, Debbie. But you can look at it and go, well, that was kind of dumb. And then if you're on the Greyhound bus and you've still got the same gun with you, that's not all that smart. So you watch the initial video of him actually shooting the guy, and I know we watched it in our office, and someone said, it's like Jason Bourne. This wasn't just a guy randomly shooting someone. This is someone who knew what he was doing. It seems like now there have been some steps where maybe he doesn't quite know what he's doing.
So if this is the right guy, if they do have the right person in custody in Pennsylvania, perhaps in the next several hours or perhaps several days, we'll start to see a motive unfold. There's been a lot of speculation about the motive, but once they have this guy in custody and if he submits to questioning, we should know more.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Northbound I-15 is closed near Scipio this morning because of a multi-vehicle crash. Utah Highway Patrol says a semi-trailer was blocking all the northbound lanes with at least 3 other vehicles involved. Troopers said the freeway will likely be closed until noon. Our air quality looking a lot better today thanks to an overnight cold front, but National Weather Service senior meteorologist Monica Traphagen says we'll likely see another inversion forming over the next few days. Thankfully not expected to impact air quality nearly as much as this past one.
Given that we just have a couple of days for that to build up, it should be far less impactful than the one.
And Traphagen says we could see a storm later this week, meaning we should steer clear of really bad air for at least the next 7 days. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A man's being held and questioned in Pennsylvania in connection with the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO in New York City. ABC's Dave Packer reports.
A man in Altoona, Pennsylvania is in police custody. Law enforcement sources telling ABC News he's being held in connection with the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Sources say the man has a similar gun to the one used in the assassination-style killing. The NYPD sending detectives to Altoona.
Your money at this moment. The Dow Jones average is slipped now 122 points down on the day. The NASDAQ is down by about 100. And our KSL weather. We're going to avoid the worst of the bad air here this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Febreze.
So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Black Friday returns at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo with a one-day, one chance for bargains. Dave's Bernina Lucky Friday the 13th sale.
How about a free embroidery module if you purchase a B570 QE or B770 QE Plus?
The Bernina 1008 is only $449. Previously loved and a limit of 10 per store.
The Bernina 735 is discounted and includes thousands of dollars of free accessories while supplies last.
1.9% financing for 48 months on certain machines.
Doorbuster specials, $99 walking feet for the first 10 customers.
25% off Bernina accessories.
Fantastic bargains on trade-in machines and Q20 quilters.
Save over $1,100 on the Burnett B79 for only $1,499. Many other brand new Bernina machines with prices too low to mention.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Come see the Bernina 990, the most amazing revolutionary sewing machine in the world.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we still have delays trying to get out of Utah County northbound I-15. There's a crash right at the point of the mountain on the Utah County side of the border. It is still blocking the HOV lane and left shoulder. Multiple vehicles involved in this one, plus the emergency crews. So this has traffic backed up all the way to SR 92. That's Timpanogos Highway. Now, the good news is if you're southbound I-15, the earlier crash we had in American Fork, that just cleared a few minutes ago, so all those delays have cleared out. And the rest of the commute through Salt Lake and Davis counties are in good shape no matter what road you're on. Naughty parking lot? Nice fix. GoPave Utah keeps Santa's landing strip flawless. Don't risk coal this year. Visit GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPave Utah. Call or visit GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with cleaner air. Sunny tomorrow and Wednesday with highs in the 40s. And right now we're at 36 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. America's top political story. Special coverage with
Sorry about that. I've got some audio bleeding over there from ABC News, which, by the way, all of the major news organizations have been covering a story that we just broke just moments ago about a development in the shooting death of that healthcare CEO, United Healthcare Insurance CEO Brian Thompson, saying that police have somebody in custody, at least held for questioning right now in Pennsylvania, in connection with his murder. That the person had gotten off of a bus in the area, and apparently, according to ABC News, still had the weapon or a weapon on him that was similar to the gun used in the murder. We're going to have more on this in the 11 o'clock hour, so keep it right here as we continue to follow the latest developments on that story.
America's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega, and also joining us is a friend of ours, a friend of the show, and a host of Inside Sources, Leah Murray. And the Wall Street Journal writing that Biden is ceding presidential influence to Trump, and some Democrats are furious. What do you make of that headline, Marty?
Well, I think they are understandably furious because he is definitely leaving a vacuum that the president-elect is running through because he's organized, has things he's trying to get done, and is out there willing to communicate openly on them. And when you do that, you take charge of the news cycle.
So he's made several appointments, or he's nominated several people for different cabinet positions. President-elect Donald Trump in Paris this weekend, meeting not only with top leaders in Paris, but also with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And then on Meet the Press, with NBC's Meet the Press.
Is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. Yes, we're going to do something about the
What does that mean? What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan.
And he's even met with the Canadian Prime Minister over the threat to impose more tariffs and raise tariffs. He's not holding back. And it's been said in the past that there can't be two presidents at once. But Leah Murray, KSL at Night host, Inside Sources host, and director of the Walker Institute of Politics at Weaver State University. I think Biden's partially to blame for this. He's kind of like, where is Joe?
I love that. Like a where is Waldo, where is Joe Biden?
Well,
but don't you think, right? Like a little bit it's the, whatever was the problem with him running for president in the first place, right, that we all saw back in June on the debate stage. I've got to say, I think that's still in place now, right? Like if you were an international leader, probably there was not much there from President Biden for a long time. Does that make sense? So I've got to think, if I were planning my future and my relationship with the United States, having a conversation with Donald Trump, regardless of the context, probably is a better way to go.
So what do you think is the right balance here? And understanding that this is a little bit different of a situation because, as I mentioned in our earlier segments, the president-elect is also the former president. Like, he's not walking in and going to be awed by the Oval Office. He's been there before. And then you have sort of the vacuum of leadership that's come from the Biden administration really since the time he was replaced on the ticket. I mean, he became a lame duck this summer. So, Leah, what do you think is the appropriate scenario? What's the appropriate balance between the president-elect and the president who is actually still governing in a regular situation? And then how is that slightly different maybe because of these factors?
Yeah, no, I love that question, Marty. But I would argue even in a regular situation, I think when Barack Obama gets elected, George W. Bush starts to cede that authority, whether it's on purpose or not, because the rest of the world is looking to January. Does that make sense, right? Yep. So we are not like the minute you are no longer, how do I say, the most recently elected person, you are a lame duck. So to a certain extent, even in a regular situation, Marty, I think we'd see something like this.
And we can't only have one president at a time. So someone does have to be the commander-in-chief. If we need military action, that's something that right now Biden still has to do. We saw that with the Syria development just overnight, right? That wasn't Trump in there, but Trump then is going to turn around and weigh in and say, as I think he did on Twitter, if I remember correctly, this is not our fight. We should let this play out. He's signaling this is how it's going to be when I actually take control. So you've got that signal, but I don't think he's stepping across the line in doing that because the president, who is actually the sworn-in serving president, is making those actual commands as commander-in-chief.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I don't think he is crossing the line, right? But I think he's signaling where foreign policy is going to go, and it would make sense for everyone to pay attention to that. Does that make sense? So If I were Zelensky, I would be meeting with him, right? If I were Netanyahu, I would be meeting with Trump. Like, all of that makes sense to me.
Well, yesterday, President Biden did speak about the collapse of the Syrian government.
At long last, the Assad regime has fallen. This regime brutalized and tortured and killed literally hundreds of thousands of innocent Syrians. The fall of the regime is a fundamental act of justice. It's a moment of historic opportunity.
And in the next segment, Leah, we're going to get News Nation on the line to talk about how the government in Syria collapsed in 11 days after a 13-year civil war, because that is just absolutely fascinated me, what has happened in the last 11 days in Syria. But in the meantime, at least the president was speaking on that, and that's about all he has done other than pardon his son.
Yeah, no, right. But I was thinking, don't you remember when Hezbollah and Israel negotiated, right, ceasefire? He gave a talk that day, too. But I'm just going to tell you, even that day, I thought, who cares? I mean, like a little bit, he's still the president. Marty's right. He's the sitting president. But a little bit, his agenda ends, and I would argue has already ended. So more I want to hear what our incoming president has to say about what's going on in these world crises.
But is this a missed opportunity, though, for the Democrats? Because my feeling was after they lost the election last month, they would be regrouping and more united and coming out, maybe even speaking out more loudly against some of Trump's nominees. But I haven't heard a lot from the Democrats. Are they just exhausted?
No, and I think a little bit there's kind of like, we lost the election. I actually heard some data this morning that suggests that on Capitol Hill, Congress staffers, 70% of them saying the reason why Democrats lost in Congress was because of Joe Biden. So a little bit, I think, do you know what I mean? They are not impressed with him already, right? So they've got to regroup, but they've got to regroup for 2026. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think right now they're frustrated with him for a whole host of things, but they are aware that they lost the election, and that my understanding is a lot less vitriol because Trump won both the popular election and the Electoral College. That was a little different 8 years ago. So I think they're more settling in to work with him more normally than they have done in the past.
And the flip side of that is President Biden may not be all that worried about pleasing Democrats because they ousted him off the ticket quite unceremoniously. So guess what? In politics, turnaround is fair play, and that's just the way it's working out this time.
Thanks, Leah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so as always, enjoy talking to you. That's Leah Murray, one of our co-hosts of Inside Sources. Marty will be co-hosting or hosting solo. You flying solo this week?
I think I'm solo on Thursday. Leah, you can come join me if you want. That's fine. We'll come hang out.
That's how we roll. All right, I'll be listening every day from 1 to 3 right here on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I was so excited when Master Electrical Service, the owner Steve, told us they were combining forces with Mountain Home Services because this means that you can get a lot more things done. It's like one-stop shopping. You've known Master Electrical Service. They've been in Utah since 1954. They can fix those outlets that are bothering you. Maybe the plug's falling out or the lights. You need new lights. Maybe you need a new EV charger because you just got an EV or you're getting one in the new year. Master Electrical now teaming up with Mountain Home Services means they not only can do that, but they can also do repairs to your HVAC, or maybe you need a new heating and air system. Maybe you need your plumbing looked at. It's one-stop shopping. And now they are also in the gas fireplace business, just in time for, winter. We're waiting for winter. And so is Mountain Home Services. They're waiting for your call. So all you need to do is give them a call and tell them what you need done. 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222. Or you can look them up online, mountainhomeutah.com.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us.
Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, northbound I-15 was shut down this morning by a wreck involving a semi and several other vehicles near Scipio. Second, police in Pennsylvania are questioning a man in connection with the murder of the United Healthcare CEO in New York. Third, the BYU Cougars will take on another Big 12 team, Colorado, in the Alamo Bowl. 36 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
This just took a matter of days for rebels in Syria to start conquering different cities in Syria. And then eventually, over the weekend, we got word that they had overtaken Damascus and toppled the 50-year regime of President Bashar Assad's government. Now, before Bashar Assad was in power, his father was in power. And this has been a dictatorship that has just demoralized and killed and imprisoned numerous Syrians. And there has been a lot of excitement about this, but we're going to learn more about how this rebel group was able to do this in just a matter of days, Marty, in just a moment when News Nation joins us live.
And we tend to look at these things black and white, like, oh, the bad guys are out, so the good guys are in.
Well,
this is probably more likely that the baddest guy is out and the slightly less bad, but still pretty bad guys are in charge. Like, this isn't kumbaya moment necessarily for Syria. A lot of variables in play here. But, you know, I just would caution people, don't always look at it as it's good, it's bad, bad is out, good is in, because we're probably not in that position.
But it has captured my attention, certainly, and I think a lot of people are curious, Joe Kalia, Washington's correspondent with News Nation, about how this happened so quickly. However, it does come after like a 13-year civil war in that country.
Yes, it does. And that was the thing that really did catch everyone by surprise, just how quickly it happened. Now, obviously, this didn't just happen in a vacuum. You got to remember, for those who weren't paying super close attention, that Assad and his government were really propped up by Russia and by Iran. And those two are fully engaged in other conflicts, other wars right now. Both have been significantly weakened. Over the last year and a half, 2 years, Russia's been in this war with Ukraine. And they have really gotten it handed to them in a way that Russia didn't expect at the beginning. So they don't have extra resources this time around to bail out the dictator, Bashar al-Assad, in Syria. At the same time, his backers in Lebanon, Hezbollah, they've been engaged in this war with Israel, as has Iran. So it's not like they have extra time and resources and money to prop him up anymore either. So it's not that these things are totally unrelated. And it seems like this rebel group and some Kurdish forces up in the northern part of Syria saw this as their opportunity. They took it, and their gamble sort of paid off because Assad did not have his typical allies to protect him this time, as we've seen in previous moments in the last 13 years.
Joe, how is the U.S. responding? What's our involvement here?
So the reason this is very important to us is, number one, we still have an American troop presence in Syria. The other issue is we don't know whether the alternative, frankly, is going to be better. As you guys were talking about, very wisely put your finger on that. The rebel group that overthrew Assad is and was ISIS-affiliated, Al-Qaeda-affiliated not so long ago. Now, the leader of that group who sort of led this rebellion, a man named Mohammed al-Jalani, he's been sounding more like a moderate figure lately and saying the right things. But still, the U.S. has for years considered him a terrorist and put a bounty on his head. So, is this someone now that the U.S. can trust? Is this a better situation for the Syrian people? Obviously, Assad was an enemy of the United States, but we don't know really what the alternative is going to look like and whether power and stability is better under, his rule. So that is a major question for the U.S. because obviously we've got interests all over the Middle East, and a peaceful and more secure Middle East is directly in our interest. So there's that. And one last thing I'd mention is Assad had this big cachet of particularly chemical weapons that he used on his own people. Those in the wrong hands, like ISIS or Al-Qaeda, could be seriously damaging for the region and for our troops as well. So we want to make sure those don't end up in the wrong hands.
Now, I was here listening this morning to a New York Times podcast on this, Joe, and Joe Khalil with News Nation. He's a Washington correspondent on the line with us, and they were saying that many of the prisoners had been freed who've been in prison for quite some time, including children. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so, this goes back even the Lebanese civil war before the Syrian civil war here. And remember that the Assad regime has been in power 50 years. Bashar's father was in power before him. For a long time, they've done dictator things, which is jail their critics, jail their opponents, sometimes for doing very little or nothing. So people had been for decades sort of forgotten about, and these jails are just now being liberated. And I think it came to a surprise to a lot of people. There was a women's prison that was liberated, and within one cell, this video that came out was just incredible, of this woman with a child that had been in the cell with her, now freed.
Joe Khalil, thank you so much for joining us and keeping us up to date on what's been happening in Syria. Appreciate it. Joe Khalil, Washington correspondent for News Nation. Of course, big developments over the weekend that the Syrian government, the dictatorship there, has toppled after a 50-year rule. And we will, of course, continue to monitor what happens there, as I'm sure leaders in Washington, D.C. are doing the same. I want to get back to our developing story that we learned not long ago, that there's a man being held for questioning in Pennsylvania in connection with the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. This has been reported by ABC News, also caught reporting by the New York Times. We don't know if this is the actual suspect, but what we do know is that the suspect was ID'd at a McDonald's by a witness who recognized him, according to ABC News, from police photos that have been released. If you've been tracking this story as closely as I have been, and I know a lot of you aren't, there was a new batch of photos, or at least a photo that I thought was extremely clear, released this weekend that came very close to matching the photo that we saw released last week that was snapped at that hostel that he had been staying at when a worker at the hostel had apparently been flirting. They'd been flirting, and she asked him to pull down his mask that he'd been wearing. And that photo was snapped that they released this weekend was the suspect after he had was escaping New York, had gotten inside a taxi. And what I learned is when you get inside a taxi, when you turn around, you look through that little window that they have between the front seat and the back seat. Apparently, there's a camera in there, and it snapped a pretty clear photo of him. Now, we don't know what photo that the witness apparently recognized this individual from, but he went into a McDonald's, which reminds me that he went into, allegedly, a Starbucks the morning of the killing, and it seemed as though police had obtained a water bottle that was left near the scene with a fingerprint on it. The fingerprint was a bit smudged, so there were some questions as to how well that was going to be, if it was a blurry, smudgy fingerprint, if they were going to be able to run it and get any hits off of it. But this is where we're at, and this is a huge development because it was just this morning, Marty, you felt like there might not be any hope in catching this guy. I think you echo what a lot of people were thinking after day 5.
Yeah, to your point about there being cameras everywhere, in cabs, in Starbucks, on streets all around New York, my thought was, boy, if they haven't figured him out by now, if he somehow slipped through that net at this point, he could be in Amsterdam by now, for all we know. What we've learned through our discussions today is also don't overestimate a criminal and their ability to think through every potential variable.
Yeah.
And so at some point, someone's going to slip up, and it seems like this guy perhaps got as far away as Pennsylvania before they found him. We don't know. Right now they have someone in custody, may or may not be the right guy.
There's been some other evidence that apparently has also led them to believe that the man they're questioning could be involved, as you said, may not be, possessing a similar gun to the murder weapon and was carrying a fake New Jersey identification. What we do know from reporting last week is that the suspect in the killing of the United Healthcare CEO was using cash. So you always think, well, maybe there won't be some sort of digital footprint. However, you think about all the other digital evidence that police potentially had at their ready, including that city bike, information from the city bike that he allegedly escaped on. Also, obviously, now we've got the photo from the cab. They may have been able to glean some information from what they said was a burner phone. I don't know for sure. A lot of times those are extremely hard to get information off of, but maybe something. They found a burner phone apparently near the scene. And, like you said, all the cameras around New York and beyond. Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, will be joining us a little later on the show with the latest developments and what his thoughts are on this new bit of information that we're getting in here, that a man is being held for questioning in connection with the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last week in New York.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A man who got off a Greyhound bus in Altoona, Pennsylvania, has been detained and questioned by police in connection with the murder of the CEO of United Healthcare last week. ABC News reports the man was recognized by a witness who'd seen images of the killer circulated by police. The man reportedly had a gun similar to the one used in the murder. Here in Utah, a woman was killed in an auto pedestrian accident in Cottonwood Heights this morning. Police say 73-year-old Yingli Lily Liu was hit by a driver near 6200 South and Wasatch Boulevard. This happened about 7 a.m. Investigators say the driver apparently didn't see her in the dark. BYU has extended the contract of head football coach Kalani Sitake. Cougars found out over the weekend that they'll be playing another Big 12 team, Colorado, in the Alamo Bowl on December 28th. At the same time, University of Utah fans learned Kyle Whittingham will be coming back for a 21st year as head coach. KSL sports anchor Jeremiah Jensen says the move brings stability to a team going through a lot of changes.
Kyle will return. News that could have a big impact on the Utes' effort to bring in elite talent in the transfer portal, and that portal has officially opened. The 65-year-old Whittingham has 167 wins all time. He didn't want to end his career with a 5-7 season.
Jeremiah says Whittingham previously said he would return to coach the team if he felt it were the best thing for the program. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is down now on the day 115 points. The NASDAQ is down by 70. And our KSL weather, we're going to see a couple of more or less sunny days now that the grunge is cleared out. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. In these trying times, when inflation is out of control and our paychecks give us less and less money to support our families, the last thing any of us can afford is for the IRS to garnish wages, levy bank accounts, or seize assets. It's important now more than ever to protect your financial security.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
$66,300. Let us safeguard you. Visit endtaxworry.com. We have saved countless taxpayers like you millions of dollars, kept businesses in operation, and ensured that our clients receive the best possible outcome.
Nearly $65,000.
$12,000 is something that you can look at and say, okay, I can handle that.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. You work hard for your money. Let us work hard for you. Visit endtaxworry.com.
We're very grateful.
This holiday season, give the gift of joy with Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates.
Imagine the delight on your loved ones' faces as they unwrap a box of their handcrafted gourmet chocolates. From creamy caramels to chocolate-covered treats, each piece is made with love and the finest ingredients. Family owned for over 60 years, Mrs. Kavanaugh's offers a tradition of quality and care. Whether it's their famous chocolate-covered nuts or their decadent fudge, Mrs. Kavanaugh's has something to make every holiday moment sweeter. Find the perfect gifts this year for your family, friends, and employees at mrscavanaughs.com or visit their retail store to explore their holiday specials and delicious corporate gifts. Order now and make the season unforgettable with the magic of Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates, where every bite is a memory. Share the sweetness.
Traffic and weather together now, brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the Dino Pay app. Here's Ricky Meese.
We're looking really good on the Salt Lake County freeways and on I-15 between Ogden and Provo. And it looks like crews have just cleaned up a crash that had been blocking a few lanes of traffic at Antelope Drive and Main Street in Layton. Looking for the best gift ever? That's what you get at Minky Couture, the original luxury blanket company. Use code KSL50 online and in stores to receive 50% off your purchase. Visit minkycouture.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with cleaner air today. Sunny tomorrow and Wednesday with highs in the 40s. Right now, 36 degrees and partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Analysis and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local stories.
We're asking the question earlier in the show, like, how
us.
safe is West High School? And it's not, the reason we're asking, it's not just us asking this. This is teachers and some students have been really concerned. And in fact, late last week on Friday, there was I call it a protest. It seemed like it was more like a gathering to raise awareness to the issues that they're having there with security. On the heels of a shooting in a parking lot, in their parking lot at the school on November 7th, it involved a 15-year-old who got shot in the leg. Police have made an arrest in that case, but it happened during school hours, which made me wonder, like, how come nobody knew about it? Because it was the hospital a couple hours later that ended up notifying 911 and the police department here in Salt Lake City to say, hey, there was somebody brought in a 15-year-old who's got shot in the leg at West High in the parking lot. This has brought up a number of safety concerns that teachers are now saying they want to see addressed. Marty Carpenter in today for Dave Noriega. And you yourself was saying if your child was in the Davis district, had something happen at their school, you would have gotten a notification.
Oh, yeah. A text and an email probably if anything happened around that. Even when things have happened, within the vicinity of the high school or the junior high, there is, my kids go to Farmington High. So there are, there's a county jail, not exactly right down the road, but a little bit right down the road, right there next to Farmington Station. And if, it seems to me, and maybe I've got this wrong in my head, but I know you've had something where, hey, there's someone who, police are out looking for who may be in the area. So we've got the school down on lockdown. Just FYI, this is what's going on, right? Just over communicate. I would say appropriately communicate, but if you're going to err on communicating too much to parents that way.
Well, teachers are concerned about obviously the shooting and that it seemed to have gone undetected. Desert News also reporting that teachers are concerned about what they say is unauthorized people in hallways during class time, fights and violent incidents, insufficient staff to monitor the large campus, multiple unsecured entry points, and they've asked the district to make some changes. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera was out last Friday afternoon as teachers protested some of their concerns.
Social studies teacher Holly Reynolds met me across the street from West High to share why the shooting last month that happened in their parking lot was the reason why they're applying pressure to the school and district to respond.
Really just highlighted that we have a lot of safety and security concerns that we have been concerned about for a long time at West. and we realized that we have been getting lucky every day.
Reynolds said the conversation has been ongoing, and they hope a new plan will be ready for their next meeting.
We had a meeting last week, and then we've reached out this week to ask for an action plan moving forward.
Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
All right, one of the things that we mentioned earlier on as we were discussing this is that the state has actually taken some pretty significant steps toward funding solutions to this problem, right? The state legislature can't go solve the security issues at West High. What they can do is appropriate money that goes to the district and then to the school to go to address those. And so we want to talk to someone who's been, a key player in that effort. Representative Ryan Wilcox, who representative from up in Weber County, has worked on this. Representative Wilcox, thanks for being with us.
Thanks. It's good to talk to you.
All right. You've sponsored legislation or been a champion for this in the past. Can you just give the audience an idea of what have we done as a state over the past few years when it comes to funding school safety measures? And then I'd love to talk to you about what the governor's proposed in his budget this time as well.
Yeah, happy to. And this is, fairly complicated, so I'll try to just summarize really quickly. Over the last 3 years, we've seen the passage of nearly 10 different pieces of legislation targeted towards school security and improving that situation in our schools. That's included around $200 million in funding that's already been appropriated. But the governor's asked for at 130 is really pretty close to what the state school board asked for this year in their budget, which was $100 million of one time. That'll help, but it's important to understand that and especially fascinating, by the way, listening to your report of what happened last week at West High School and the faculty there demanding some improvements there. So many of the things that they're looking at, that they're concerned about, the entrances, the availability and lack of identification of people walking around the school, are the very things that have been recommended already and frankly required for them to assess and to communicate back to the new state security chief that's in the new assessment that we require this year that's due at the end of this month. So by December 31st, every school in the state should have turned in their security assessment. That information that we will gather from that is what will inform how we prioritize the next round of funding. What we understand will be far more than a one-time issue. That'll put us over $300 million in one time over the last 3 years. But more importantly, what's the ongoing cost? Because you're really talking about training, about understanding, about personnel, which is not a one-time effort.
Representative Ryan Wilcox, live on the line, has gone to great efforts to secure funding and raise awareness about school security across Utah, as we've seen, shootings, mass shootings happening on campuses across the United States. I'm just a little surprised, and maybe a little isn't quite the way I would define it. I'm quite very surprised that we're talking about teachers who are coming forward to say there are multiple unsecure entry points at West High, which is a school that is very close to downtown. And, in this latest shooting that we've been reporting on from November 7th, may have been gang involved. That does not seem like that would take a lot of money. It might just take making sure doors are actually secure, but you might know a lot more than I do. Or are we still propping doors open in some of our schools, and perhaps that is a no-cost solution to better security? Or are we talking about, kids letting other kids in and nobody being able to, check badges at some of these places?
Yeah, those are great questions. And unfortunately, it is something that we've seen. And I can't speak specifically to West High School, but I will mention this. A year and a half ago, if you recall, when we had that terrorist that targeted 11 schools in Utah, north to south, and shut them all down, West High was one of those schools that they targeted then. So it's not uncommon for us to find out that we have security issues. We've had the warnings. We got lucky that was a hoax. And what we're seeing now is that there's additional awareness, including with the faculty, of what those security risks are. As far as the training goes, that is absolutely a training issue. We still do have some cases where when we do our assessments where we find doors propped open. And it's a cultural change, Debbie. It's an understanding. I mean, I can just think about your work with the FBI and how different that must have been for you going from the news media to that particular version of the world. And it's a totally different mindset.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for your diligence, working to keep our kids safe and improve safety measures at all of our schools. We'll continue to track those developments at West High and also be curious to see when those safety assessments, Representative, are turned in, what the state finds are some of the main issues across the state. I wanted to mention as well in this that the school district, Salt Lake City School District, had issued a statement. And they sent it to us again this morning saying that they agree with their teachers, all students and staff should be safe at school, and that they'll continue their ongoing efforts to keep their schools safe. And they know that the West High administration is also doing their part, working to develop consistent and clear protocols to process, and increase school safety, and that they have met with the West High teachers to hear their concerns, and they're going to look forward to follow up with that.
And it is one of the older buildings, right? We have to recognize that it is one of the older buildings, so maybe making it work for the security protocols that are maybe easier to put into a brand new building, a little bit more of a challenge. But still, by this point, you would think that they would have come up with some solutions to some of those things.
We've got some breaking news to report in the shooting death of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Media organizations, News Nation, CNN, and also Fox News simultaneously reporting not only the name of a person who's been arrested in the CEO shooting, but also the mayor saying moments ago that he would consider, the mayor of New York considers this person to be a strong person of interest. We are going to have full coverage in about 3 minutes of this latest development and everything we know when KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas joins us next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I was talking to Christine Dixon of Renaissance Ranch in studio just earlier today, and they do such wonderful work helping their clients through addiction with the 12-step method. But they do so much more also for our community, and it is free. And I cannot stress this enough, that if you have a loved one dealing with addiction, they don't even have to be enrolled or a client at Renaissance Ranch. That's how much Renaissance Ranch wants to help everybody who's struggling with a loved one who's going through addiction. They offer these free online classes. That's right, they're free. And they're regular classes. I'm looking at the list now that Christine left me. They have them on Monday. They have 2 today. They have one tomorrow. They have a couple on Wednesday. They have 2 on Thursday. And you can do these classes. You can take these classes over Zoom from the comfort of your own living room. There's a women's support group. There's a couples recovery group. They teach you how codependency works and how to get over codependency. There's so much to learn, and it is free. It's Renaissance Ranch, and you can find out more on these classes just by going online to renaissanceranch.com. Again, those free online classes totally open to the public at renaissanceranch.com.
Welcome to Staples.
Help! My family's in for the holidays and I need gift ideas.
That's why we're here. Staples has amazing deals on everything you need. Photo gifts, laptops, and gaming systems. Even custom holiday cards and shipping solutions to send gifts to the family that can't make it.
Perfect! Have anything for Uncle Frank? I love him, but the guy is never quiet.
Noise-canceling headphones. For you.
You get it.
Unwrap huge holiday savings at Staples. And right now at Staples, save up to $350 on select computers. Ends 12/28, in-store only.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Terry's Tiny Homes, Terry! Sure, as the only employee of her company, Terry was probably the front runner, but saving money getting personalized discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive, well, that gave Terry the edge. Over Terry.
Terry!
Keep awkwardly chanting your own name, Terry. You deserve it.
Woo!
Be your own Terry. See if you could save in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Rescue, redemption, recovery, re-entry. That's what happens at the rescue mission of Salt Lake City.
My name's India.
My name is Kelly.
So I was a heroin addict.
I was living in my car.
And I decided it was time that I got help.
You don't know what to expect.
The rescue mission of Salt Lake does not accept any federal, state, or city funding. Everything is wholly supported through your generous tax-deductible contributions, along with donations of our friends and supporters.
You have a bed, you have a shower. We get everything that we need.
87% of every dollar goes to the rescue mission services. The other 13%, hard costs to run the mission building itself.
Like I have that hope now.
Thank goodness.
From the recovery program to a place to lay your head at night, and meals served every morning, afternoon, and evening all year long, as well as food boxes for families in need. The rescue mission needs our help.
Like a new life, that newfound hope.
That's what I'm grateful for.
Find out how at rescuesaltlake.org.
Hi, Susan. We haven't seen or heard from you.
Cold.
We would like to locate Joyce.
The mysteries that made podcast history.
Cherie Warren disappeared.
Are now together for free at kslpodcasts.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, the host of Cold. Join me for Season 1, The Susan Powell Case Files. Season 2, Justice for Joyce. And Season 3, The Search for Cherie. Listen anytime for free at kslpodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Case Construction and Roofing prioritizes quality and trust with every project. Their skilled team works closely with clients to deliver durable solutions, from roof repairs to remodels, ensuring lasting results and strong client relationships. Business manager Rachel O'Crowley joins us with more.
At Case Construction and Roofing, we empower women in construction by providing skill-building opportunities and recognizing subcontractor excellence with incentives. We focus on delivering top-notch construction services while building an inclusive, growth-oriented workforce. By supporting hands-on training and fostering collaborations within the art community and sustainability sectors, we bring quality, safety, and creativity to every project. Our services cover various aspects of construction, including general building, roofing, flooring, framing, HVAC, and minor electrical and plumbing work. We work closely with local HOAs, apartment complexes, property managers, and local homeowners to meet their construction needs with reliability and professionalism. One of our core values is community engagement, which we enhance by recognizing our team members' dedication through local rewards, like gift certificates to neighborhood markets. This approach not only supports local businesses, but strengthens our ties within the communities we serve, making Case Construction and Roofing a dynamic and community-centered construction company.
By prioritizing skill development, inclusivity, and community connections, Case Construction and Roofing are not just constructing buildings, but helping build stronger, more vibrant communities. Visit their website at caseconstructionandroofing.com. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
There's a press briefing going on right now in what appears to be the apprehension of a strong person of interest held in the CEO killing. The United Healthcare Insurance Company CEO, Brian Thompson, last week. I want to take you live right now to that press conference. It looks like NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenney is briefing the press on the latest development of this. I'm not quite sure if it's an arrest. Some are reporting an arrest of a 26-year-old man who'd stepped off a bus and gone into a McDonald's in Pennsylvania this morning. Let's listen.
And really comes down to the video canvas that we did. We used every source of video that we could collect, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours from hundreds of sources, and that helped bring this to where we are right now.
The gun is it believed to be the gun you used in the shooting? And there was some talk that it was a veterinarian type gun. Is that accurate?
No, as of right now, the information we're getting from Altoona is that the gun appears to be a ghost gun, may have been made on a 3D printer. The capability of firing a 9mm round, obviously that will come out during our ballistics testing.
Oliver?
Yeah, Oliver Barnes from the Financial Times. Do you have any indication how long this handwritten, is it a handwritten manifesto that you found on the suspect? And also whether or not he put it online at all?
Don't know if it's online. As of right now, it's a handwritten 3-page document.
Chief, does he have ties to that area, and
was he someone who you knew by name before his arrest?
We believe he may have attended college in Pennsylvania, but like I said earlier, he has ties to Maryland and California and Hawaii.
And you knew him by name before today? Was his name on your radar?
Excuse me?
Was his name on your radar? Was he someone who you had been looking into before his arrest?
No, we did not have his name prior to today.
Lynn? Brent, okay. Does he have any prior arrests? I know there were none for New York City, but is there any prior arrests anywhere else in the country?
We have not come across any arrests in the country.
Chief, hi, how are you? On two things. On the ghost gun, is it something you're going to be looking into to see if he made it himself and can he make that himself, or would he have to buy the gun the way it was?
No, once again, that'll be part of our investigation as we follow up.
I mean, obviously he's going to face murder charges, but is there any chance that he could face any other charges because he was targeting the CEO and because of his writings and other things that we're now finding on him? Federal charges or
that determination will be made by Alvin Bragg.
Yes, what connections does he have in Pennsylvania that you know of, and are they in Altoona specifically?
We believe he attended college in Pennsylvania.
Does he know anybody in Pennsylvania?
Wouldn't be able to tell you that.
All right, we're going to take one more question on the shooting, Marla, and then we're going to go.
You talk about the manifesto having said things against corporations, but specifically United Healthcare, and do you believe that Mangione acted alone?
We believe at this point, our investigation is leaning toward he was acting alone. So, like I stated earlier, we're still working through the investigation. We're not stopping today. And as far as the manifesto, like I said, I don't have the complete details of that. It's in the possession of the Altoona Police Department.
We're going to shift to Octo.
Yep. Good job, Chief.
So that's the chief of detectives at NYPD, as always, the New York City Police Department, usually putting out a lot of details. And in this case, they didn't seem to spare many details on what they know. That the suspect that is now in custody in connection with the killing of 50-year-old Brian Thompson last week in Manhattan, he's that United Healthcare CEO, was spotted by apparently a McDonald's employee in the Pennsylvania area, just gotten off a bus, and somebody called cops. Beyond that, he's 26 years old, was apparently carrying a 2 to 3 page manifesto, which may have some writings regarding the healthcare industry, Marty.
So now he's starting to make a number of mistakes that lead to his arrest. If they've got the right guy, right? Everything kind of would start to indicate that, well, you got the gun on you, you've got a manifesto on you, you're walking around places that you're going to be seen and spotted. That has certainly helped in this overall arrest.
Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst, the evidence is certainly not looking good for this 26-year-old former college student in Pennsylvania.
That's exactly right, and Marty sort of articulated some of the similarities between the suspect and the individual that they've now arrested. Also included in that is some fake ID that he had that the suspect used to rent a place or to stay in a youth hostel or a hostel that was there in New York. So there's so many similarities, and I know that it's a circumstantial case at this point, but it looks like the Manhattan DAs have done a very good job, and their investigators, of course, have done a very good job of at least finding this suspect who looks to be, it looks like they have a pretty good case.
Well, it was so often in these cases, and the chief of detectives, Joseph Kenney, mentioning this, sometimes you just need a lucky break, and that appears to be what they got when they got a phone call or a tip about this guy walking into a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, because he even admitted this 26-year-old was not on cops' radar.
Right. No, I mean, but this has been a national search, Debbie, and
right.
As you know, once you get the photographs out there, once you get other information out there, I mean, the whole country's looking for this kid, and so there was probably no place he could go or see or be where he wasn't going to be recognized, and it was probably just a matter of time before they had somebody in custody. And maybe he's the type of person that was so angry about what was going on here that he doesn't mind getting caught.
Well, and he's got this ghost gun. I don't know a lot about ghost guns, but saying that it was maybe printed from a 3D printer, that's a whole new angle to this case that we just learned this morning, Greg.
Right, and it's consistent with the gun that was used in the homicide. It's interesting also to know that the prosecutor in this case, Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan district attorney, is the same district attorney that charged and convicted now President-elect Trump for those 34 counts in New York. So it's a small world, but it's funny that things like that sort of come back around and you hear the name once again. But once I heard Bragg, I thought, well, that's the same person that charged Trump.
Well, and they can't necessarily stop the search, even though they think they may have the right person in custody, because this could end up being something that unravels real quickly.
Yeah,
right?
And there's a lot more work that needs to go in to the collection of evidence and the building of the case. Greg Skorda's former prosecutor here in Salt Lake County, now a defense attorney. You know all too well about that. Appreciate you jumping on the line as always with us when big news breaks, and this certainly is a big development. Took a turn this morning. Just a couple of hours ago, cops had just issued over the weekend a brand new photo from that taxi cab where the alleged shooter apparently got into. It was a clear-faced photo of this guy. We don't know if that's the photo that cracked the case for NYPD, but they now appear to have